Chapter 25:13. Fight your way in. Dao Dai, no one is allowed to come close to the sacred mine. If you take another step, don't blame me for being merciless. Tang Shu said again. He definitely knew Dao Dai, but so what? In his eyes, Dao Dai was trash. How could he allow a trash to meet the little princess just because he knew her? Furthermore, there were many spies in the four great commanderies who wanted to sabotage the plan to seize the sacred mine. Therefore, he did not trust Dao Dai. Aren't you being too unreasonable? Dao Dai could not help but rebuke Tang Shu's arrogant tone. You are at the bottom of the second generation of the Sky Saint Institute. Trash has no right to speak. However, Tang Shu laughed disdainfully. Scram, do you think you can meet the little princess? Go take a piss and see if you have the right. We are only letting you scram because you know young Master Tang Shu. Otherwise, all of you would have to stay here today. The experts behind Tang Che also shouted coldly. Dao Dai and the others were so angry that their faces darkened. Even Lin Ling was furious. However, when he thought of Tang Yue, he still gave them some face. He said indifferently, since you are not allowed to enter, please tell Tang Yue that Lin Ling wants her to come out and meet me. Meet you? Who do you think you are? Do you have the right to do so? When Lin Ling said this, Tang Shu's voice became louder. Lin Ling, so it's you. Although you are the superior of Yue when she was cultivating in the martial god barracks, it doesn't mean that you will always be her superior. Tang Shu had obviously heard of Lin Ling's name. It was said that Lin Ling was an arrogant genius who had grown very quickly. He had already reached the second generation of the Sky Saint Institute. If I am her superior, then I will be her superior in this life. Ask her to come out and meet me. When he heard Tang Shu's words, Lin Ling's mood worsened. What if we refuse? Tang Xiu's mood started to turn sour. Lin Ling thought he had some ability and was so arrogant. Then don't blame me for fighting my way in. Lin Ling could not be bothered to waste his breath. You alone? I know you defeated Si Xuanmei, but that can only mean that your strength is above average among the second generation. We are the top experts of the second generation. We have been at the top of the pyramid for many years. You are still too inexperienced. Tang Shu couldn't help but laugh. One had to know that the second generation of the three great academies were as numerous as the hairs on an ox. He, Tang Shu, had spent 500 years to barely step into the top of the second generation pyramid. As for Lin Ling, this rising star, he was at most at the second layer of the pyramid. I heard from Lord Tang Yue that Lin Ling is a genius. I wonder how his strength is. If you want to fight your way in from here, then you'll have to take 500 moves from me. While the two of them were talking, a tall and sturdy man had already walked out. He held a hammer that was even taller than him and as large as a millstone. With each step he took, it was as if the heavens and earth were collapsing. Whoosh! At the same time, heavy rain began to fall from above his head, making him look like a god of war in the rain. Lin Ling, let me do it. Dao Dai stared at the man and said coldly. No need. To save time, let me do it. However, Lin Ling interrupted him. He knew that he couldn't rely on his mouth to inform Tang Yue. He could only rely on his fists. And he didn't want to waste time here. After all, he only had a single day left. Then, he also walked out. Lin Ling, as a genius, I know that you are very arrogant. But, let me remind you that before a genius grows up, they are still very ordinary. If you meet someone who has cultivated for a longer time than you, it's best if you keep a low profile. The man sneered. He took a step forward and gripped his hammer with both hands, ruthlessly smashing it down on Lin Ling, Flying Fish Sun Condensing Hammer. Lin Ling was the lord above Tang Yue. Although they didn't say it out loud, they still felt disdain in their hearts. They thought that what qualifications did Lin Ling have to be the lord above the little princess? Now, he wanted to take revenge for the little princess. Lin Ling is only at the 8th stage of the World King realm, but Tang Yu is at the 10th stage of the World King realm. He also has a 9th stage treasure and a middle 3rd stage martial art. Lin Ling won't be able to block that hammer. However, their strength is similar. It will be difficult for Tang Yu to defeat Lin Ling. After all, Lin Ling is a monstrous genius. His strength is above average among the 2nd generation. The other warriors continued to comment and then cheered as well. After all, Tang Yu represented the square commandery. As for Tang Yu, he carried his broadsword on his back and looked at the scene mockingly. However, he still reminded, "Don't kill him. Otherwise, you won't be able to answer to the little princess." "Got it." As the hammer smashed down, Tang Yu replied with a smile. "You overestimate yourself." Dao Dai and the others stared at the scene and shook their heads in disdain. They knew that Lin Ling wouldn't lose. But soon, their pupils constricted because in their eyes, Lin Ling was still standing there, motionless. Could it be that Lin Ling intended to take the blow head-on? Although they were confident that Lin Ling was stronger, taking the blow head-on was another matter. Boom! In the heavy rain, a black ancient fish swam in the rain. Its mouth was wide open, and its mouth was filled with sharp teeth. As the giant fish swam, the hammer smashed down heavily on Lin Ling's body. This smash caused the ground to shake, and a powerful shock wave rushed to the sky. "Tang Yu, you're crazy." Tang Yu immediately scolded because he felt that Lin Ling had been smashed to death by the hammer. How would I know that this brat wouldn't be able to react in time? It seems that there are many people who don't live up to their reputations. His strength isn't as strong as the rumors say. Tang Yu said gloomily. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a voice floated in front of him. "How dare you call yourself a senior with such little strength?" The shock wave around them began to disperse. Under countless gazes, Lin Ling was still standing there, and above his head was a black giant hammer. He had taken the hammer head-on and was fine. It should be known that if the hammer had landed on a weak world, it would have been enough to shatter it. Could it be that Lin Ling was harder than a world? "I'm sorry, your precious weapon is broken." In the next moment, Lin Ling's indifferent voice floated out again. Crack! 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 The hammer that he had smashed on Lin Ling's head was now showing signs of cracking. Crack! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as if they had seen a ghost. Even Dao Dai and the others were the same. If they remembered correctly, Lin Ling's defense wasn't that strong not long ago. "You!" Tang Yu opened his eyes wide and stared at his broken hammer carefully. It seemed that if he didn't check it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe that Lin Ling's head was harder than a hammer. He didn't know that Lin Ling's body of the celestial devil had greatly improved. His physical strength had already exceeded the toughness of a world. Not to mention Tang Yu, even the number 1 warrior of Square Commandery, Tang Cheng, might not be able to hurt Lin Ling. "Is there anything else you want to say?" At this moment, Lin Ling slowly raised his head and squinted at Tang Yu. "Me." Tang Yu actually wanted to ask why Lin Ling's head was so hard, but unfortunately, he couldn't. "No, then get lost." Chapter 25-14. A clash with the number 1 genius of the 2nd generation. Go back to your hometown. Lin Ling didn't even look at Tang Yu as he strode forward. The crowd stared at Tang Yu as he disappeared into the horizon. They were all dumbstruck. Tang Yu couldn't have been beaten back to his hometown, right? Then, they looked at Lin Ling and their expressions turned serious. The name of a genius was indeed not an undeserved reputation. Interesting, very interesting. But you want to break into Square Commandery by yourself? Do you think there's no one in Square Commandery? Let me fight you. Elder. But soon, an old man walked out. He was at the 10th stage of the World King realm, but his status wasn't low because he had an awakened divine body. You really think there's no one in Square Commandery? Elder. However, facing the old man who wasn't weak, Lin Ling's frivolous words made the old man's beard puff. He wanted to say something, but Lin Ling's next words made him speechless. One by one, it's a waste of time. Come at me all at once. Elder. Lin Ling actually asked all the powerhouses to come at once. These powerhouses were all at the 5th stage of the World King realm and many of them were at the 10th stage of the World King realm. Maybe they weren't Lin Ling's match one-on-one, but if they all attacked together, they might not be able to. This guy is even more arrogant than before. Elder. Dao Dai and the others were also stunned. Did Lin Ling increase his strength in such a short time? Shameless boasting. Elder. Teach him a lesson. Elder. The powerhouses were furious. How could they swallow the humiliation of being looked down upon by a junior? Suddenly, they all erupted with their ultimate skills and pounced on Lin Ling. From afar, the attacks were like the collapse of the heavens and the earth. At this moment, even the powerhouses at the peak of the World King realm didn't dare to be arrogant. However, how could Lin Ling be an ordinary World King? Rumble. All the attacks fell on Lin Ling's body. The terrifying power blasted apart the distant mountain range, causing it to tumble in the sky like straw. Still too weak. Elder. Just when everyone thought that Lin Ling would definitely be injured, a multicolored flame soared into the sky. A heaven-shaking change. Amidst the resplendent flames, the young man seemed to have come from another world. He held the flames with both hands and had a smile on his face. However, this smile gave off an evil charm. How can you be fine? I used a high-grade 3rd-grade martial art. It's fake, it must be fake. He must be seriously injured right now. Are you stupid? If he was seriously injured, how could he laugh? Moreover, look at his aura, it's even stronger than before. The experts surrounding Lin Ling were all dumbfounded. These masters were all emperors in the myriad worlds, but now, even with countless emperors joining forces, they could not defeat a junior. This was too unreal. To be honest, I'm really fine. Lin Ling said indifferently as he supported the flame with both hands. The reason why he wanted to fight his way in was, firstly, to save time. Secondly, his strength was increasing rapidly, so he wanted to have a deeper understanding of his own strength. All of you, return to your homes. Then, a roar floated out from Lin Ling's mouth. The flames in his hands turned into fists that shot out like meteors. These movements seemed simple, without any mysteries of martial arts. But they were actually able to defeat 10 with brute force. This was because Lin Ling had fused his 2 dantians together with a heaven-shaking change. This strength was far too great. Within the World King realm, there were very, very few people that could block his strength. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Sure enough, as these fists shot out, the surrounding powerhouses were like blooming flower buds. They shot out in all directions, all of them disappearing into the horizon. Ah! Only cries of pain and alarm could be heard, reaching the ears of everyone below. The powerhouses that attacked before were all sent flying away. It was possible that they were sent flying out of the 9 Dragons world. Is Tang Yue in this direction? As everyone was surprised, Lin Ling pointed at a high mountain in front of him and asked the surrounding powerhouses. His overbearing expression caused everyone to fall silent. Yes, yes, but you can't go there. Nirvana-colored satin rain. But soon, Tang Shu spoke. He looked deeply at Lin Ling and kicked the saber that was stuck in the ground beside him. Holding the saber with both hands, he charged at Lin Ling. At this point, how could he let Lin Ling bully the square commandery? Lin Ling, I am one of the strongest geniuses of the second generation. If you can't block my saber, don't blame me if you die. As the giant blade descended from the sky, a torrential downpour swept across the sky, causing a storm to descend upon the land. In the rain, the saber was even wilder. This was different from Dao Dai's saber. This was a large saber that was overbearing and majestic. Its attack was like a storm. Tang Shu, the second generation of Heavenly Saint Academy. He is ranked 25th. His saber is an immortal treasure that was given to him by Heavenly Saint Academy. It can increase the power of chaos to a certain extent, allowing his ultimate saber Dao to reach the true realm of Dao. Dao Dai frowned as she watched Tang Shu's attack. Will Lin Ling be in danger? Yi Yao was a little worried. I don't know, but Lin Ling defeated the top warrior of the 4 commanderies. His strength is not far from Tang Shu's. It will be difficult for Tang Shu to defeat him in one move. Dao Dai pondered. Lin Ling's strength was so strong that even she could not see through it. That's ridiculous. Lin Ling was above average in the second generation not long ago. Could it be that he is now in the top tier of the second generation? Yi Yao could not help but admire Lin Ling. The speed at which he improved his strength was too fast. Rumble. At this moment, the saber arrived and poured down like rain. Lin Ling raised his head and smiled. He quickly unsheathed the tyrannical song in his hand and slashed the sky. Clang! The saber and the sword collided. Invisible ripples spread out in all directions with the two of them as the center. You actually blocked my superior third-grade martial art. In the sky, Tang Shu was still holding the saber, but he was surprised. Ultimate Saber Dao, True Realm of Dao, second-grade awakened divine body, and peak world king strength. Of course, the most powerful thing is this saber. Lin Ling held the sword with one hand and raised it above his head as he calmly said. His other hand was behind his back, giving him an indescribable sense of confidence. As the people around saw this, they could not help but be amazed. This Lin Ling was too calm. Since you know my strength, do you think you can still block it? Tang Shu said word by word. The saber in his hand swayed, causing the rain to become even crazier. It was as if the water of the Milky Way was sprinkling down. Ka ka ka. His strength was suppressing Lin Ling, and it was constantly increasing. He did not believe that a mere 8th-level world king could block his saber. Bang! The surrounding earth instantly caved in, reaching 100 meters deep. But, in this deep pit, there was a towering mountain peak. This mountain peak was not affected by Tang Shu at all. Instead, there was a youth standing atop this mountain peak, his body covered in flames. He held a sword in his hand and resisted. You're fine. Tang Shu was startled. I don't believe it. His strength was becoming increasingly great, erupting to the limit. This formed a heaven-shaking and earth-shattering scene. Rain poured down like a Milky Way, but on this lonely mountain peak, flames soared to the heavens. Chapter 25:15. All towards Lima. Is this all you've got? In this shocking scene, the youth's indifferent voice floated out. Contempt. A newly risen second generation actually dared to look down on a top genius of the second generation. You. Tang's pupils turned red. He suppressed all of his strength, nearly burning his world essence. However, on the ground below, Lin Ling was safe and sound. He was as steady as a mountain, like an immovable king. Time is up. At the same time, Lin Ling finally spoke. Before this, he wanted to see just how fierce this first generation second generation was. Unfortunately, no matter how much strength he used, he still wasn't able to touch Lin Ling at all. This left Lin Ling a bit disappointed. Lin Ling had two dantians. One was at the 8th stage of the World King realm and the other was at the 7th stage of the World King realm. With one fusion, the power of his world essence had reached a terrifying limit. As for the ultimate martial arts and talent, Lin Ling wasn't weaker than his opponent at all. Only Lin Ling's weapon was weaker than his opponent's. But, the power of his world essence had already made up for this flaw. You have a good saber, but what a pity you're too weak. Lin Ling began to counterattack. His sword slashed out, sword light like water. Rumble, rumble, rumble. An unprecedented strength erupted. Tang's was grip on his saber loosened. The saber flew away and he tumbled away. As he flew backwards, his eyes filled with horror. Wasn't Lin Ling at the 8th stage of the World King realm? But that strength seemed to have reached the true divinity realm. Bang! Finally, he crashed into the distance. As for the great saber, it was stabbed into the side of a deep pit. Lin Ling stepped forwards, holding the great sword at a slanted angle. He seemed relaxed and carefree. It can't be, right? Young Master Tang Shu kept using his power, but Lin Ling was safe and sound. But when it was Lin Ling's turn to attack, he sent young Master Tang Shu flying with a single strike. The surrounding martial artists cried out in alarm. An ordinary world king couldn't stop Lin Ling and even young Master Tang Shu couldn't stop him. And Lin Ling was only at the 8th stage of the World King realm. This was too inconceivable. How did you defeat me? In the distance, Tang Shu sat on the ground and glared at Lin Ling. Brute force defeats 10 skilled martial artists. Savor it for yourself. Lin Ling said without looking at Tang Shu. After this battle, he was somewhat familiar with the strongest second generations. In fact, these second generations all had their own capital. For example, Tang Shu's capital was his saber. Without that saber, Tang Shu could only be considered an excellent second generation, not the strongest. Could it be martial arts? Or was it talent? No, it's the sword in his hand. It must be that sword. Hearing this, Tang Shu blankly thought about all of Lin Ling's formidable advantages. However, he directly ignored Lin Ling's cultivation because Lin Ling was only at the 8th level of the World King realm. This couldn't be considered an advantage in defeating him. However, it was precisely because of his cultivation that he had defeated him. He had not thought of this at all. At this moment, Lin Ling moved forward again. However, the surrounding warriors were frightened and didn't dare to move. Seeing Lin Ling climb up the stairs, Dao Dai and the others glanced at each other and quickly followed him. Seeing this, the surrounding warriors immediately smiled bitterly. The dignified 4 great commanderies had been humiliated by a junior. If this spread out, how could they face others? However, Square Commandery was indeed one of the 4 great commanderies. In a short time, they had built a palace at the top of the mountain. It was magnificent and magnificent. On the stairs leading to the palace, more and more warriors appeared. They were all wearing armor and shouted angrily, "Who are you? How dare you break into this forbidden area?" Then, they looked at the warriors at the foot of the mountain and were immediately surprised. What were these people doing? How could they not stop the intruder? The warriors at the foot of the mountain smiled bitterly. They should have been able to stop him. I am Lin Ling. I have something to discuss with Tang Yue. Yes. At this moment, Lin Ling also spoke. He was not an overbearing and rude person. It was just that these people had no respect for him. As expected, the warriors were angry. Do you think you can find the little princess just because you want to? Who do you think you are? You will never be able to step on this mountain path to the palace. Get down the mountain. On the stairs, the armored men shouted coldly. If I am kicked off the mountain by you, you can take my life. Lin Ling's eyes were like torches. His words were powerful and sonorous. His voice drifted down the mountain and made everyone's heart tremble. Although Lin Ling was arrogant, his words were so arrogant that it was admirable. Bang! Lin Ling was the first to attack. His celestial demon body erupted and he threw a punch forward. Rumble! Like a siege car, all the warriors blocking the way were swept away. The warriors blocking the way finally knew why the people at the foot of the mountain were indifferent. It was because Lin Ling's strength was too terrifying. Simple and violent, no one could stop him. Shocking change. Lin Ling released all of his realm essence. One man and one sword, he charged into the sky like a dragon crossing the river. However, he did not kill anyone for Tang Yue's sake. After all, there was no great hatred between them. Lin Ling was not a person who killed indiscriminately. Ah! The warriors of Square Commandery were all blasted off the mountain. When they smashed onto the ground, their faces were filled with fear. Who was this rising star? His strength was too strong. Teacher Tang Shi. Tang Shi even saw his teacher who had taught him when he was young being blasted off the mountain. This made him realize the gap between him and Lin Ling. This was terrifying. Could it be that Lin Ling was already in the top 10 among the second generation of the Resplendent Academy? Could it be that Lin Ling had hidden his strength during the battle at the drill ground of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty? It must be so. Even if he was beaten to death, he could not believe that Lin Ling's strength had increased again in such a short period of time. After all, the improvement of the World King realm was measured by years. If one's strength reached the late stage of the World King realm after 1,000 years of cultivation, one would be considered a rare peerless genius. If one's strength reached the top of the World King realm after 1,000 years of cultivation, there would only be 10 people in the entire 3 academies who could do such a thing. Arrogant Junior, I'll take you on. Get out of the mountain. At this moment, an old man who was as arrogant as a lion appeared. With a roar, his realm essence burst out. This old man was the Grand Protector of Square Commandery. His name was Tang Ming, and he was a warrior who had cultivated for 10,000 years. The Grand Protector is on the move. Stop him! The crowd shouted. Although they were surprised by Lin Ling's monstrous strength, they did not want to be bullied by a junior to the point where they could not even lift their heads. I'll say it again. If I roll off the steps, my life will be yours. On the steps, Lin Ling held his great sword and rushed forward. The tip of the sword scratched the ground, causing dazzling sparks to fly. Seeing Lin Ling rush over, the old man was surprised by Lin Ling's aura. What a proud junior! However, he was a half-step true God Realm warrior. He did not believe that a junior at the 8th stage of the World King realm could defeat him. He immediately sneered, "Come. Ashura sword array." At this moment, Lin Ling jumped up. His speed was as fast as lightning. In the air, he pointed his ancient sword at the old man. On the body of the sword, numerous black ancient swords shot out. A total of 49 swords shot towards Tang Ming. He was still hiding his strength. Chapter 25:16. Ahan 8 Desolation King, you have some ability. Blood Wave 5 Mountain Scroll. On the last step of the mountain, Tang Ming also erupted with his full strength. 5 crystal mountains fell from the sky, blocking in front of him. He wanted to see how Lin Ling would break his 4th grade martial art. The Grand Imperial Protector is at the half-step true immortal realm. He is invincible in the World King realm. Lin Ling cannot defeat him. Tang Ming, who had been watching the battle, quietly clenched his fists. He didn't believe that Lin Ling was really so monstrous. Clang! At this moment, the Shura sword array shot out like arrows, stirring up a bloody storm. It constantly attacked the 5 crystal mountains, causing Tang Ming's expression to change. This martial art is at least a 4th-grade martial art. His heart rumbled. Lin Ling was only at the World King realm, but he had cultivated a 5th-grade boundary origin martial art. One had to know that martial arts were compatible with one's realm. If one's realm wasn't enough, then no matter how strong the martial art was, one wouldn't be able to comprehend it. However, this logic was useless on Lin Ling. Lin Ling was a freak. It seemed that nothing was impossible for him. Even so, you still can't break my martial art. Tang Ming roared. He was at the half-step true immortal realm and his chaotic energy was extremely vast. Why would he be afraid of Lin Ling? Dazzling light constantly bloomed and sparks flew in all directions. The Shura swords actually broke the crystal mountains. However, the 40 swords only broke 4 of the crystal mountains. With the remaining 9 swords, it was clear that the remaining crystal mountain could not be broken. You've lost. Scram down the mountain. Tang Ming coldly shouted. Even so, he was frightened. If Lin Ling was just a little bit stronger, then he wouldn't be Lin Ling's opponent. It's not over yet. Unfortunately, Lin Ling shook his head. Clang. After his voice rang out, the first 8 of the remaining 9 swords failed without any suspense. There was only one left. Good. At this moment, no one thought that Lin Ling could win. Some were even thinking about how they would reprimand Lin Ling after Lin Ling lost. It's good to be young and aggressive, but you shouldn't be too arrogant. Even if you are a dragon, you have to kneel down and salute obediently when you come to square commandery. That was what everyone thought. Even the Grand Imperial Protector, Tang Ming, was the same. However, he wasn't angry at Lin Ling. On the contrary, he liked Lin Ling a lot because Lin Ling had the spirit of a young man. Of course, since Lin Ling was defeated, he couldn't avoid reprimanding him as a senior. However, he was obviously thinking too much. The last sword was showing off its edge. That was Sword Heart. Whoosh! As the sword struck out, the last crystal mountain exploded. Surging energy swept out in all directions, causing countless people to open their mouths wide. All of the thoughts in their minds froze in place. However, the sword did not stop. It shot towards the Grand Protector. The Grand Protector squinted his eyes and exclaimed, "Ultimate Sword Principle, True Realm of Tao, Sword Heart." The True Realm of Tao was a type of ultimate martial arts. Martial artists who possessed this realm would be able to display even more powerful martial arts. After reaching a certain level, they would be able to give birth to a Sword Heart. There was nothing they couldn't destroy, and their skills would approach the Tao. However, even he hadn't reached this martial arts realm. "I admit defeat." Then, the Grand Protector shouted anxiously because the sword was already in front of him. "Admit defeat?" There was an uproar at the foot of the mountain. An expert who was half a step to the true God realm admitted defeat? Could it be that Lin Ling was the strongest person below the true God realm? Whoosh! Almost at the same time when the Grand Sorcerer admitted defeat, the tip of the sword shook and shot past the Grand Sorcerer to the palace behind him. Rumble! The luxurious palace that had been built in a short period of time was cut in half by the sword, causing rocks to fly and dust to fill the sky. One sword broke the palace. This guy. Seeing this, the Grand Protector's old face was full of horror. A sword mark appeared on his cheek, and blood flowed out from it. Of course, if Lin Ling hadn't stopped before, the Grand Protector would have ended up like the palace. He would have been cut in half instead of just injured. Bang! At the same time, Lin Ling reached the top of the mountain. His blue and white robe fluttered in the wind, making the warriors at the foot of the mountain feel thirsty. Lin Ling had single-handedly defeated all the experts from the Square Commandery. This was an achievement to be proud of. Lin Ling, it's you. At this moment, a large number of people flew out of the palace because of the fierce battle. Among them, there was a cry of surprise. This person was the war general of Tang City. Then, he glanced around and immediately knew what had happened. His subordinates dared to stop Lin Ling? This was crazy. Because he already knew that Lin Ling's strength was more powerful than his Tang Cheng. Of course, when he saw Tang Ming the Grand Protector standing there in a daze, he couldn't believe it. Could it be that the Grand Protector was also defeated by Lin Ling? He couldn't help but look extremely serious. After all, Lin Ling wasn't so powerful not long ago. In such a short period of time, his strength had soared too fast. Lord Lin Ling. Right at this moment, an exclaim of surprise resounded. Tang Yue walked over with a large number of experts, and there was a graceful and luxurious middle-aged man by her side. His footsteps were steady, and every single one of his movements carried the aura of a king. His cultivation was definitely at the true god realm. His identity was the owner of the magic mine this time, Lord Tang Yongyun, the king of the 8 barren mountains. This person was famous in the Square Commandery. He was one of the 4 lords, and his strength had reached an incredible level. At this moment, Lin Ling was also looking at the man in surprise. His strength was comparable to Queen Xianji's, and he seemed to be just a lord. What if he was the most powerful emperor in the Square Commandery? Sure enough, the 4 commanderies were vassal states of the great Qing divine dynasty, and their resources were beyond imagination. You are Lin Ling? Tang Yongyun said lightly, with the aura of a superior. Of course, his voice was filled with dissatisfaction. Although Lin Ling was exceptional, he was too arrogant to fight directly. Uncle Tang, he is my lord. Tang Yue knew that Tang Yongyun was the most serious, so she quickly said. It's precisely because he's your lord that I'm speaking so nicely. Tang Yongyun said angrily. Since he started learning martial arts, he had summoned countless experts. However, he was the first to be defeated by a junior. If this news spread, his reputation would be ruined. The experts behind him were even more furious than Tang Yongyun. They thought that Lin Ling had humiliated the king of the 8 barren mountains. Tell me, you fought so fiercely. Is it just to find the little princess? Tang Yongyun said again. Hearing this, Lin Ling sneered in his heart. The Square Commandery was indeed majestic. If they had not put on airs, Lin Ling would not have dared to fight here. Of course, at this point, Lin Ling couldn't be bothered to explain anything. I am not here to find Tang Yue. I am here for something else. Lin Ling said lightly. Many people's eyes lit up. They wanted to know what Lin Ling would say. After all, Lin Ling had made such a big fuss. If Lin Ling did not say anything useful, he was going too far. Tang Yongyun had obviously thought of this as well. He listened attentively. I want to sell you a piece of information. Chapter 25:17. Selling information. Selling information? Lin Ling's words caused the entire place to fall silent. Lin Ling beat up all the guards, and then he could sell the information? That was making a mountain out of a molehill. Tang Yongyun frowned and continued to ask, what information? What? He also felt that Lin Ling was crazy and seemed to be a swindler. Use the remaining time to loot as many divine gems as you can. After that, we'll split the loot. Of course, I'm not a greedy person. 40% will be enough. Lin Ling said calmly after thinking for a while. 40% was already a huge sum of money. However, after he finished speaking, the crowd became even more silent. Someone even stared at Lin Ling and said, "Are you crazy?" Right now, the divine mine was sealed off by the 4 commanderies. Many other powerful forces had also arrived, such as the Great Yuan Mansion. They all wanted to share the harvest of the divine mine. These forces had finally reached an agreement to share the divine gems according to the ratio. However, Lin Ling wanted them to take the lead and loot the divine mine. This was a violation of the agreement between them. If they looted the divine mine, they would be besieged by all the forces. Therefore, they felt that Lin Ling was pointing them to a dead end. Most importantly, Lin Ling was shameless enough to ask for 40% of the divine gems in such a dead end. You're crazy, but I'm not crazy. Of course, if you think I'm asking for too much, we can split the loot 30-70. However, Lin Ling did not seem to notice the crowd's surprise and said again. Hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar. 30-70? Even if it was 10-90, they would not do such a thing. Do you know the consequences of doing this? I'm afraid that we'll be killed by all the forces before we can even leave the Nine Dragons' realm. Tang Yongyun frowned and said, Do you know how many forces have gathered in the Nine Dragons' realm this time? Don't worry. Since I dared to make such a request, I'm confident that I can guarantee your safety. Lin Ling smiled and said confidently. However, while he was confident, the others were not. Although Lin Ling's strength was not bad, but relying on Lin Ling to protect them was clearly unrealistic. I think he's bragging. This guy beat all of us down the mountain, and then came here to boast? Many people let out angry roars, feeling as if they had been played by Lin Ling. In reality, if it wasn't out of consideration for Tang Yue's face, they would wish for nothing more than to make a move and teach Lin Ling a lesson. Even Tang Yongyun had the same feeling. Lin Ling came to protect them? What a joke. This guy didn't know how many experts were stationed here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to say that. I'm only selling this information to you because of Tang Yue. Otherwise, I might not have bothered with you even if you begged me. In the face of everyone's angry shouts, Lin Ling still had a lazy look on his face as he said indifferently. However, his words made the surroundings even more silent. Everyone was so angry that smoke was coming out of their 7 orifices. Pointing a dead end to them, Lin Ling actually used a tone as if he was rewarding them. This guy was so infuriating that the roots of their teeth hurt. Even Tang Yue smiled bitterly. She didn't understand why her lord would make such a suggestion. I'll give you 15 minutes to think about it. If you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. Lin Ling took out a wine flask and drank slowly. His words and attitude immediately caused angry shouts to ring out from all around. Your Highness, in my opinion, this braggart should be thrown out. That's right. Hearing those voices, Tang Yue shook her head helplessly. She looked at Lin Ling again and realized that Lin Ling was calm as if he was in control of everything. She had to admit that when Lord Lin Ling put on an act, he could really scare people. He spoke as if he was telling the truth. Amidst the angry shouts of the crowd, the 15 minutes quickly passed. At the same time, Lin Ling said indifferently, "Time's up." As soon as he said that, the crowd reacted as if oil had been poured on fire. Lin Ling really thought that he was rewarding them. What's your decision? Unfortunately, Lin Ling ignored everyone's gazes and looked at Tang Yongyun instead. Seeing this, Tang Yongyun sneered. Was there a need to make a decision on such a matter? Instead, he decided to kick this braggart out of the mountain. Uncle Tang, I think that Lord Lin Ling must have his own reasons for making such a big fuss here. So, let's do as he suggested. Tang Yue immediately spoke up just as Tang Yongyun was about to speak. Although she also thought that Lord Lin Ling was bragging, ever since she met Lord Lin Ling, she knew that Lord Lin Ling wasn't such a person. So, she took the risk. Little princess, don't be fooled by him. If we take the initiative to snatch the sacred mine, we'll all be annihilated. This is no small matter. Let's listen to Lord Tang. The surrounding people exclaimed and hurriedly spoke up. Tang Yongyun looked at Tang Yue in surprise. He knew that although the little princess looked old, she was extremely intelligent and was most qualified to take over the throne of Square Commandery. So, she must have her own reasons for speaking up. Uncle Tang, this Lin Ling is not simple. He will definitely be a dragon among men in the future. Now is the time for Square Commandery to do him a favor. At this moment, Tang Yue secretly transmitted her voice. Tang Yangyun's eyes flickered. It was undeniable that Lin Ling, despite his bragging, was indeed talented. However, it was hard to say how far he could go in the future. Just as he was about to refuse, Tang Yue said again, "I swear in the name of my father that if anything goes wrong, I, Tang Yue, will bear all the consequences." Yue. Tang Yangyun was shocked when he heard that. In fact, Tang Yue was the one who had the most authority in this mission. However, Tang Yue was only following him to gain experience and broaden her horizons. Therefore, she did not speak much about ordinary matters. Now that Tang Yue had issued an order, he had no choice but to obey. But, what if they failed? Not only would they have to die, but Tang Yue would also have to die. Moreover, they would become the sinners of Square Commandery. After all, according to the agreement with the other commanderies, they would share some magic ores with each other. Although it was not as much as robbing by themselves, at least they would not return empty-handed. If they robbed by themselves, they would gain a lot if they succeeded. If they failed, they would lose everything. Tang Yangyun kept thinking. Finally, he thought of the stubborn Tang Yue. He sighed and looked at the crowd. Little Princess Tang Yue has finally decided to act according to Lin Ling's words. Yes. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Were they really going to believe Lin Ling's bragging? Bragging like this could kill someone. Instantly, voices of protest sounded. Unfortunately, it was useless. Instead, Lin Ling smiled faintly. It seems that you have made the right decision. Then you will definitely gain a lot. Gain? If we lose our lives, how can we gain anything? If Tang Yue was not here, the crowd would have smashed this braggart to death. Chapter 25:18. Enter the crater and rob the magic mine. Don't worry. You are my subordinate. How can I point you to a dead end? Moreover, ever since I, Lin Ling, went to the Martial God Battalion, you have followed me. When have you ever suffered losses? Lin Ling said confidently. If he was not afraid that there would be spies here and expose his plan, he would not mind telling these people that a terrible destruction alliance would come one day later. Hearing this, Tang Yue nodded. Her lord had an ordinary background, but he had created miracles time and time again. He was a reliable man. Of course, she believed him, but the others did not. Tang Yangyun kept shaking his head with a bitter smile. Of course, since he had agreed, he immediately looked at Lin Ling and asked, "When shall we take action?" "Act now." Lin Ling looked into the distance. One day was short. If they wasted more than 15 minutes, they would waste a lot of divine gems. Remember, this must not be leaked. At least before other experts find out, we must have something in our hands. Lin Ling said again. They won't find out. After all, the magic mine has been blocked by various big powers. Ordinary people do not dare to steal divine gems, even experts from other commanderies. If it were not for you, we would not dare to. Tang Yangyun said. Well, gather everyone and get ready to go. Lin Ling waved his hand and treated himself as the Emperor of Square Commandery. This guy. The experts of Square Commandery immediately gnashed their teeth. Even the genius of the second generation, Tang Yue, was cursing in his heart. Lin Ling was younger than him, but he had to listen to Lin Ling. But although he was dissatisfied, there was nothing he could do. Then, under Tang Yangyun's lead, everyone headed for the magic mine. On the way, Tang Yangyun still felt unreliable. He kept asking Lin Ling, "What if we are discovered? How can we deal with it? Someone will help us." Lin Ling replied with a smile, which made Tang Yangyun feel even more unreliable. Anyway, even if Lin Ling helped, he didn't think it would have any effect. Gradually, the vast divine mine came into view. It looked like a sinkhole with colorful clouds at the top. It was so beautiful that it looked like a fairyland. As they got closer, a wave of dense spiritual energy rushed towards them. Lin Ling and Dao Dai could not help but smile. Dao Dai and the others, in particular, were extremely excited. They had never imagined that they would be able to lay their hands on the godly mine that had been sealed off by experts. Of course, they had no idea about Lin Ling's plan. After all, even if the Creator Alliance came, would they really help them? Tang Yangyun, what do you mean by this? Just as the army approached the sinkhole, a cold shout suddenly came from the front. Clearly, someone had discovered Tang Yangyun and the others. "I came to take a look at the divine mine, that's all," Tang Yangyun said with a calm expression. "But why did you bring so many people here?" Not far from the sinkhole, the voice was still heard. Then, a large number of figures appeared. They were the experts from Tating Commandery. "Could it be that you are afraid that I will snatch the divine crystals?" Seeing this, Tang Yangyun immediately laughed. The warriors from Tating Commandery were stunned for a moment before they laughed as well. This was obviously impossible. After all, if the warriors from Square Commandery dared to snatch the divine crystals, they would definitely not be able to leave Nine Dragons' realm. Moreover, the various experts would have to answer to Square Commandery. Because Tang Yangyun and the others had broken the rules, they would be killed without mercy. "Hee, even if we let you snatch it, you won't dare to snatch it. Go in," one of the old men said with a faint smile. Hearing this, Tang Yangyun smiled meaningfully. He muttered to himself, "Sorry, snatch it for me, I really dare to snatch it." Then, the army entered the sinkhole majestically. Although there were many people, the army was still very small compared to the endless sinkhole. As for the experts guarding outside the sinkhole, they did not pay much attention to Tang Yangyun and the others. These experts came from various forces. In addition to the three commanderies, there were also the De Yuan Mansion, Tongzhou, and the Ghost Realm. There were even many second generations of the three academies. They were here to help, and the reward was a certain amount of divine crystals. These divine crystals. Yes. After entering the sinkhole, Lin Ling found that it was a huge valley. Around the valley, the ground was scattered with divine crystals. It was a shocking sight. The rich spiritual qi made Dao Dai and the others feel refreshed. "Lin Ling, what should we do next?" Tang Yangyun looked at Lin Ling and asked. In fact, he was still hesitating. "Let's plunder. Time is running out," Lin Ling said with a smile. After he finished speaking, he took the lead. With a wave of his right hand, a large number of divine crystals floated to him and he kept them in his ring. The crowd immediately looked at Tang Yangyun. They were still hesitating. After all, if they took action, they would be doomed eternally. Tang Yangyun smiled bitterly. Lin Ling dared to take responsibility for his actions. He did not hesitate to steal. He had no scruples at all. Then, he looked at Tang Yue and finally nodded. "Let's steal. Let's do it." With his order, the others took action one after another. Dao Dai and the others were the most excited. They kept plundering along the way. When they saw that their rings were full of divine crystals, they almost fainted from happiness. Although they would die if their plan failed, at least for now, they were happy. The others also had the same thought. Perhaps this was the so-called, even if they died, they would die with a full stomach. At this moment, everyone let go of their scruples. Tang Yongyun was the same. He secretly admired, if it weren't for that guy, I wouldn't have dared to be so unscrupulous. However, this feeling of being unscrupulous is so satisfying. Hee, Uncle Tang, I have the same feeling too. I'm a little excited. So this is what it feels like to steal. Tang Yue immediately replied. The two of them looked at each other. It seemed like they were in pain but happy at the same time. As for Lin Ling, he did not have so many scruples. This time, he stole the divine mind to strengthen his grandfather and the others. Therefore, he did not show any mercy. Huh, little guy, you really want to see the world in chaos. At this moment, a sweet voice sounded in Lin Ling's mind. It was Queen Xianji. You're awake? Hearing that, Lin Ling stopped what he was doing. He was overjoyed. Queen Xianji had woken up. She must have broken through to the next level. Thanks to your care, I've reached the level 5 True God Realm. I've entered the middle stage of the True God Realm. As expected, Queen Xianji had successfully broken through to the next level. Moreover, an exquisite body flew out from Lin Ling's body. It was the True God Martial Soul. However, this martial soul was naked. Although it was a little blurry, one could still see her alluring body. Hey, can't you put on some clothes? Seeing that, Lin Ling said helplessly. Have you ever seen a true God martial soul wearing clothes? A true God martial soul is formed by a ray of light. Why are there so many rules? The ray of light floating in front of Lin Ling rolled its eyes. The true God martial soul was like a soul. However, it contained extremely powerful energy. Whatever. Now, help me steal. Chapter 25:19. Welcome the storm. Very quickly, the two of them joined in the looting. Lin Ling had hundreds of rings that were used to store treasures. They were obtained from the people he had killed over the years. At this moment, they were all filled to the brim. On the other hand, when they looked at the divine ores again, their harvest was nothing more than a drop of water in the ocean. I can't take all of them. Are there any more rings? Lend me one. The eyes of Dao Dai and the others were filled with greed. They couldn't wait to take away all the divine ores. This was a huge mine that could even tempt the 4 commanderies. Naturally, the amount of divine gems in it was beyond imagination. Don't be too greedy. Remember, divine crystals are just cultivation resources, and they don't represent everything. You have to learn to be willing to give up in life. Only by giving up can you gain something. Seeing that Dao Dai and the others were acting a little different from usual, Lin Ling frowned and immediately said. In front of endless treasures, the usually calm martial artists had all lost their cool. The seeds of greed were constantly growing, so Lin Ling had no choice but to remind them. The moment Lin Ling spoke, Dao Dai and the others felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They were stunned for a moment before they gradually regained their senses. Many of the surrounding warriors also began to react. Even though they'd gained quite a bit earlier, their gains were too ordinary when compared to the entire mine. So, they wished for nothing more than to take the entire mine with them. This thought clouded their calmness. However, Lin Ling's words woke them up. Even Tang Yue and Tang Yangyun's hearts trembled as they looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. At this moment, they noticed that Lin Ling wasn't a rising star. Instead, he was like a martial god grandmaster that had seen through everything. After all, being able to remain calm before a treasure wasn't something an ordinary person could do. This guy is actually calmer than me. It seems that his rise wasn't due to luck. Tang Yangyun's opinion of Lin Ling had somewhat changed. Tang Yue nodded. My lord has always been mysterious. Everyone suppressed their greed and plundered the divine crystals once more. Time silently passed. As for Lin Ling, he raised his head to look at the sky. His eyes flickered continuously. The day was getting closer and closer. He gently stroked the jade pendant in his hand and felt the temperature of the jade pendant. His expression became even more serious. Stealing the divine mind this time was actually a gamble. Hopefully, everything will go according to Lin Ling's plan. What are you doing? After an unknown period of time, a puzzled voice suddenly came from the misty place in front of them. More than a dozen figures came from afar from the crater. Judging by their attire, these people seemed to be experts from my commandery. This time, everyone was shocked, including Tang Yongyun, because they had been discovered. You are stealing divine crystals? The old man in the lead strode over and looked at Tang Yongyun and the others in surprise. One had to know that the sinkhole had already been sealed off by the various major forces. Unless one was an idiot, otherwise, who would dare to come here to steal? Although Tang Yongyun's strength was not bad, the major forces also had such strong experts. Therefore, Tang Yongyun's actions were tantamount to courting death. Don't misunderstand, we're not stealing divine crystals. Even though Tang Yongyun had been through countless storms, he was still a little nervous at this moment. Of course, compared to the others, he was much calmer. Then how do you explain the divine crystals in your hands? Prince Tang Yongyun, you'd better explain clearly. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave here. The old man frowned and his tone was dignified. Although he was not as powerful as Tang Yongyun, he represented the various forces. Therefore, he was not afraid of Tang Yongyun. This time, Tang Yongyun found it difficult to explain. The others also started to feel uneasy. Huh, you want to explain? However, at this moment, a laugh was heard. Behind Tang Yongyun, a tall young man walked out with a smile and walked towards the old man. Who are you? You don't seem to be from Square Commandery. The old man raised his chin and looked coldly at the young man. My name is Lin Ling. Do you need an explanation? Not bad, you're not dim-sighted. We are indeed stealing divine crystals. The young man was still smiling, but his smile suddenly became cold. As the old man's expression changed drastically, he quickly drew out the sword in his hand and slashed. The sword radiance was like water. The old man wanted to say something, but apparently, he could not say anything. Plop. He fell down and was killed by the sword. Seeing this, the people behind him were all shocked. In fact, they were not sure that Tang Yongyun dared to steal divine crystals. It was just a guess. But now, they were sure. You stole divine crystals? Someone cried out in surprise. Not only did you steal divine crystals, but you also killed people. Lin Ling's lips curled into a cold smile. He activated the sword of Azura and cut the man into pieces. These were all warriors from Square Commandery, so Lin Ling did not need to give them any face. What are you waiting for? Kill them. Then, Lin Ling shouted to the people behind him. At this moment, Tang Yongyun was in a daze. When he was discovered, he was still trying to find an excuse. Who knew that Lin Ling would be so violent and kill them directly? This explanation was better than anything else. However, once the arrow was shot, there was no turning back. This also meant that they were going to face the encirclement of various forces. Attack! Tang Yongyun was indeed an ambitious person. He knew that it was useless to think too much, so he immediately waved his hand and ordered. A large number of experts shot out and wiped out the remaining people. Then, they all looked at Lin Ling, and their expressions became even more uneasy. However, Lin Ling looked calm and shook his head. We can leave now. Unfortunately, we only managed to take a few divine crystals with us. A few? Everyone's mouths were wide open. In fact, they had gained a lot. It was the first time in their lives that they had seen so many divine crystals. However, Lin Ling only said a few. Lin Ling was not worried about the situation at hand. Instead, he was helpless because he had gained too little. Isn't this guy a little too calm? Let's leave this place. As they widened their eyes, Lin Ling smiled and looked into the distance. At this moment, he finally realized that the jade pendant in his hand was getting hotter and hotter. Go now. Tang Yongyun knew that there was no time to lose, so he immediately gave the order. The army left toward the side of the sinkhole. Next, the real problem came. It was easy to enter, but difficult to leave. As expected, when Tang Yongyun and the others approached the sinkhole, a large number of eyes stared at them from the dark. Among them, quite a few gazes were true God Realm powerhouses. Just based on Tang Yongyun alone, he could not stop them. Prince Tang, are you ready to leave? According to the rules, you must be searched. At the edge of the sinkhole, a large number of experts appeared and looked at Tang Yongyun and the others indifferently. At this moment, Tang Yongyun did not know what to do. He could only look at Lin Ling. Lin Ling smiled and strode forward, causing the experts in the distance to frown. Who was this young man? What did he mean by walking out? Brothers, let's start the massacre. However, Lin Ling's next sentence shook the entire sinkhole. At this moment, the Ashura sword formation flew out majestically and wiped out all of those experts. Lin Ling knew that he could not hide from these guards. In that case, he might as well kill them directly. The storm would come sooner or later. Chapter 25-20. Besieging. This guy is really direct and efficient. Wow. Tang Yongyun was stunned by Lin Ling's actions. He didn't expect Lin Ling to choose such a tough attitude in front of so many experts. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and shake his head. It seemed that he was getting old and couldn't be as calm as the younger generation. Then he waved his hand and ordered the army to prepare for battle. But at this moment, his fighting spirit was boiling. It was obvious that although he didn't believe in Lin Ling, once he made a choice, he would definitely do it. Moreover, the older one was, the more afraid of death he was. But at this moment, he felt that he had returned to his youth and had the drive of a young man. Young people should have this kind of drive. Brothers, prepare for battle. Go. Tang Yongyun walked out, and the nervous army behind him also showed a look of facing death with equanimity. Fight! 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 The warriors of Square Commandery all roared to the sky. Their momentum attracted all the experts around the giant sinkhole and sealed off the entire giant sinkhole. Like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples, the sky was densely packed with warriors in a short period of time, and they all looked coldly at the ground. Among them, there were many ancient experts in the true God realm, who were the pillars of the various forces. They didn't expect that Tang Yongyun would dare to steal the divine crystals. He was simply courting death. Many people even had sarcastic smiles on their faces because Tang Yongyun's death meant that the divine crystals of Square Commandery would be divided among them. They had the advantage. Tang Yongyun, what do you mean by this? Elder. Among the countless experts, an old man shouted angrily, as if the heavens were angry. Not far from him, many experts put their hands behind their backs and looked down at Tang Yongyun and the others as if they were looking at a group of lambs waiting to be slaughtered. The reason why they didn't attack now was that they wanted to know why Tang Yongyun would make such a stupid choice. Countless eyes stared at Tang Yongyun, which made him tense up. He subconsciously looked at Lin Ling and was surprised to find that Lin Ling's face was very calm, as if he didn't know what was coming. At this moment, Lin Ling's lips curled into a cold smile. Do all the mines in the 9 Dragons realm belong to you? You big powers sealed off the divine mines and didn't allow other wandering cultivators to get close. You were so overbearing and heartless. What was the meaning of this? Who are you? In the skies, all the powerhouses were looking at Lin Ling. They never thought that while Tang Yongyun hadn't spoken, a junior would actually take the initiative to speak up. And this junior's strength was only at the 6th level of the World King realm. How dare you? What right do you have to speak? Kneel down. The experts all shouted angrily, but the old man was indeed a formidable character. He waved his hand and the experts all quieted down. Then the old man said indifferently, I am the Tai Si Xiong, true god of the Grand Court Commandery. Who are you? He couldn't help but be a little surprised. In the current situation, even Tang Yongyun was worried about his life and death, yet this junior was so calm. This aroused his interest. For symbols, true gods? Lin Ling smiled inwardly. He had heard this name before. Tai Tianyi, who had died at his hands in the past, seemed to be this old man's son. He shook his head and his calm voice floated out, I am Lin Ling. His words were as if he were speaking to a friend, calm and relaxed. But, as these words spread out, the entire sky pit was shaking. Many people present had heard of Lin Ling's name before, especially those from the Tai Si Commandery, and the Great Yuan Mansion. They hated this name to the bone. They never imagined that such an enemy wouldn't hide from them, but instead appear in front of them. He was even trying to steal the divine minds. This was insane. At this moment, countless powerhouses stared at Lin Ling. Some even rubbed their eyes, fearing that they were seeing things. The old man's pupils shrank. You are Lin Ling? Genuine? A smile appeared on Lin Ling's face as he replied nonchalantly. You killed my son and are the enemy of the Tai Si Commandery. Now, you even brought Tang Yongyun and the others to steal the divine minds? You're courting death. The old man gradually smiled. It was a ferocious and crazy smile. In fact, he was the one who wanted to kill Lin Ling the most in the Tai Si Commandery because Lin Ling had killed his son. He just didn't have the chance, but now he had. Lin Ling, he is Lin Ling. Of course, he wasn't the only one who wanted to kill Lin Ling. The powerhouses from the Tai Si Commandery and the Great Yuan Mansion all wanted to kill him. After being surprised, they laughed. They looked up to the sky and laughed. The heavens were on their side. Ha ha ha, this is great, this is great. I have searched high and low for you, only to find you by chance. Lin Ling, I want to see how you will die today. Tang Yongyun, you have a great reputation, but unfortunately, you trusted this Lin Ling and came to die with him. He has killed you. As the experts laughed, they let out excited cries. Of course, they were happy. Today, not only could they kill Lin Ling, but they could also kill Tang Yongyun. Furthermore, the Square Commandery wouldn't dare to seek revenge. How could they not be excited? Tang Yue and the rest turned pale as they listened to the laughter that filled the sky. Previously, they wanted to fight to the death, but now they realized that it was unrealistic. The only outcome for them was death. Moreover, it would be total annihilation. Even Tang Yongyun pursed his lips tightly and looked at Tang Yue with a trace of resentment. If Tang Yue hadn't trusted Lin Ling, they wouldn't have died today. Noticing Tang Yongyun's gaze, the others more or less blamed Lin Ling. It's hard to say until the last moment. Tang Yue replied, biting her lips. In fact, she was comforting them. Of course, this kind of comforting was not persuasive. He said that if the matter was exposed, there would be someone to protect us. Now, it seems that we have all been fooled. He alone can't protect us. Someone said with a sigh. His heart was dead. Seeing their expressions, the powerhouses in the sky were not surprised. After all, if they were in the same situation, they wouldn't be any better. Tang Yongyun, for the sake of the 4 commanderies, I forgive your ignorance. If you leave immediately, I won't pursue this matter. Of course, you won't get a share of the magic mine this time. What do you think? The elder in the sky was not in a hurry and said slowly. He knew that Tang Yongyun would never be so bold. Everything was because of Lin Ling's bewitchment. Therefore, he wanted to see Lin Ling abandoned by Tang Yongyun and the others. At that time, Lin Ling would feel isolated and helpless. To him, Lin Ling was doomed. However, to kill Lin Ling so easily was obviously too easy for Lin Ling. He wanted to play him to death slowly. We can leave alive? Hearing this, Tang Yongyun and the others' eyes lit up. No one is allowed to leave. However, Tang Yongyun shouted coldly. Everyone's gaze froze. If there was a way out, would they choose to die? Chapter 25-21. Fight. It had to be said that Tang Yongyun was a man with his own principles. Hearing this, Tang Gu and the others sighed. Right now, they could only be buried with Lin Ling. Good, Lord Tang Yongyun, you are indeed an indomitable expert. I will leave you with a complete corpse to show my respect to you. The elder in the sky didn't stop Tang Yongyun and the others from sending themselves to their deaths. He looked at Lin Ling with a crazed look on his face. Lin Ling, you've fallen into my hands. Do you have anything to say? The winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. I have nothing to say. Lin Ling said with a faint smile. He glanced at Tang Yongyun and felt even more respect for this person. However, his expression was too calm, which made the old man very unhappy. Shouldn't Lin Ling be panicking, regretting, or even in pain right now? He didn't like killing people who didn't fear death, because it didn't give him any pleasure. I'll give you a chance. Let's fight. You can use any method you want. If you win, all of you can leave. Moreover, we won't pursue the matter of the stolen divine crystals. The old man said in a dignified manner. For symbols, true gods. Hearing this, the experts at the side cried out in surprise. Killing Lin Ling was something that could be done in the blink of an eye. Why would they give Lin Ling a chance? Yes, I agree. But soon, someone from only Wu Commandery said. They understood the intentions of the great four symbols true gods. They didn't want Lin Ling to die too easily, and they also wanted to slowly torture and kill Lin Ling, otherwise, how could they feel any pleasure? Lin Ling, seize this opportunity. Who knows, you might be able to survive. After that, those powerhouses spoke one after another, as if they had bestowed upon Lin Ling a great opportunity. You mean what you say? However, Lin Ling's eyes lit up and he smiled faintly. I, the great four symbols true god, am a man of my word. Lin Ling, I know that you are a monstrous genius. However, I am very skeptical about the extent of your monstrous talent. Therefore, you had better perform well. The old man waved his hand, and four experts walked out. 4 people? And they are all at the half-step true god realm? Tang Yongyun and the others were still holding on to hope, but at this moment, they were also frowning. How was this an opportunity? From the beginning to the end, he had never intended to let Lin Ling go. Lin Ling, the number 1 rookie of the second generation, come and fight me. Above the sky, 4 powerhouses appeared and floated there, waving at Lin Ling. Lin Ling, I have no enmity with you. It's just that you've angered everyone, so you only have 2 choices now. 1. Fight. One of the armored men said faintly. He had only 1 eye, and the other was blind. However, the remaining eye was like an eagle's. When one looked into his eyes, one's soul would be moved. What about the second choice? Lin Ling raised his head, and his eyes flashed with a cold light. 4 half-step true god realm powerhouses, and they looked like old monsters who had cultivated for 10,000 years. Their strength was not to be underestimated, but Lin Ling wanted to test his limits. The second choice is to cripple your own cultivation, then kneel down and kowtow. I will guarantee that you will leave. The one-eyed man said indifferently. He had no enmity with Lin Ling, but Lin Ling dared to steal his divine mind, so he naturally would not let Lin Ling go. Moreover, although Lin Ling was a monstrous genius, his strength was not as good as his, so everything was meaningless. He could abuse him however he wanted. Cripple his cultivation? Hearing the overbearing voice, Tang Yue and the rest narrowed their eyes. This choice was worse than killing Lin Ling. In the martial god world, those without cultivation were like lowly commoners, not to mention that Lin Ling had offended so many people. If Lin Ling became a cripple, the consequences would be unimaginable. Moreover, Lin Ling could leave after crippling his cultivation. Not to mention Lin Ling, even Tang Yue and the rest did not believe it. The one-eyed man was obviously tricking Lin Ling into crippling his own cultivation. I have enmity with the Grand Court Commandery and other forces, but I have no enmity with you. You can represent them and fight, but you want me to cripple my own cultivation? Lin Ling looked over, and the coldness in his eyes intensified. You refuse me? The one-eyed man laughed, and it was an evil laugh. It was as if in his life, no one had ever refused him, not even a dead man. The others in the sky sneered. This game was getting more and more interesting. After all, the one-eyed man was called the Soul Breaker King, and he was a notorious devil in the south. He killed people like flies, and he had once slaughtered hundreds of people. Although Lin Ling was a demon, he was obviously a demon who had not grown up. If Lin Ling dared to refuse the Soul Breaker King, he would definitely suffer a terrible fate. It was said that the Soul Breaker King had 10,000 ways to torture people, making them wish they were dead. Perhaps, this was the reason why the Four Symbols True God had asked him to fight. 2 choices. I'll give you one last chance. The one-eyed man said again. Lin Ling looked at the sky calmly, but the murderous intent in his eyes was even more frenzied. Although he knew that leaving the crater would save him a tough fight, it was obvious that the one-eyed man had angered him. Alright, I'll give you 2 choices. 1. Die. 2. Be killed by me. Lin Ling stepped forwards and shot into the skies. The ancient sword behind him was grasped in his hand, and his lips curved up in an evil smile. Does this fellow not know that he will die here? He actually dares to speak such arrogant words. As the crowd looked at the tyrannical Lin Ling, their sneers became even thicker. Lin Ling had actually chosen this decision, thinking that he could make a comeback. He simply didn't know that everyone was just teasing him. But, it had to be said that Lin Ling's courage had exceeded everyone's expectations. Ho ho! As the one-eyed man saw Lin Ling step into the skies, he laughed once more. But, this laughter became even colder. He seemed to be angry. Because with his strength, Lin Ling actually didn't listen to him? Moreover, with so many people watching, he couldn't suppress Lin Ling. This made him feel as if his face had nothing to do with it. Soul Breaker King, there are 4 of us, but we have already killed an 8th stage World King Jr. So, you should make the first move. As the other 3 people saw Lin Ling step into the skies, they lightly said. They held Lin Ling in contempt. Even if Lin Ling was at the peak of the World King realm, they still didn't place him in their eyes. A half-step true divinity master had their own pride. Good, I will make him wish he was dead. Soul Breaker King traced his chin. Then, a rich demonic energy appeared from his body. A divine light protected his body as it fell from the skies. Moreover, this wasn't a simple divine light, but a demonic light. This was a first-grade awakened divine body, the Great Maha Broken Body. In the skies, a dazzling black light shot through the horizon. Soul Breaker King had attacked. His speed had reached the speed of 2 worlds. This meant that his speed could instantly pass through 2 worlds. It was terrifying to the extreme. A fist appeared in midair, seeming to absorb all the light in the skies, causing the world to turn pitch black. As Tang Yongyun and the others saw this, their complexions became extremely dignified. Although Soul Breaker King was at the same boundary as Chief Protector Tang Ming, the latter was far more brutal and merciless. No matter how many martial artists he killed, he wouldn't be moved at all. Often, such a ruthless and ambitious character would have a higher combat strength. Chapter 25-22. Underestimating the enemy, Your Highness, should we attack? Tang Ming immediately asked. This was because even if he fought with soul-breaking Luo King, he was confident he would lose after exchanging 3,000 moves. We can't attack. Tang Yongyun stared at the powerhouses in the skies and then shook his head. If they attacked, it would be in accordance with the wishes of the four true divinities. They would immediately attack. At that time, the battle would be over in less than an incense stick of time. Then we can only depend on him. Hearing this, Tang Ming let out a long sigh. Lin Ling, although you are a rising second-generation talent, there are many monstrous geniuses in martial god world. You are only a little monstrous genius that has just gained some fame. At this time, in the skies, the fist had already covered Lin Ling's entire body. This speed caused Lin Ling's pupils to flash. What incredible speed! This soul-breaking Luo King was clearly much stronger than Tang Ming. It seemed that there were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the infinite worlds. As Lin Ling thought this, he ignited the space-time fire in his dantian. A heaven-shaking change immediately erupted. His cultivation boundary suddenly reached the 10th level of the World King realm. Without drawing his sword, Lin Ling chose to collide with his fist. Flames and dark demonic energy wildly collided in the skies. Even Tang Ming was surprised by Lin Ling's choice. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the demonic energy and flames completely erupted. A shockwave of world essence appeared and two figures shot out from it. It was Lin Ling and soul-breaking Luo King. Lin Ling was forced back even further. Moreover, blood dripped from his left hand and black demonic energy lingered above his wound. But, Lin Ling's godly demon body was formidable and he immediately blocked the invasion of the demonic energy. On the other side, soul-breaking Luo King was much calmer. He gloomily glared at Lin Ling. This fellow is even more fierce than the rumors say. The powerhouses in the skies had dignified expressions. Before Lin Ling died, they were able to see Lin Ling's strength. This was enough to satisfy them. You have some skill. You blocked my move. Not bad. The first exchange allowed soul-breaking Luo King to understand Lin Ling's strength very well. He laughed sinisterly, his single eye flashing with a strange light. Blood sacrifice to the devil will I. Suddenly, he let out a sharp cry, as if countless bats were chirping at the same time. Invisible sound waves swept out, and those weaker martial artists immediately bled from their 7 orifices. Duan Han Luo King had obviously used his killer move. At the same time, Lin Ling's pupils constricted. He sensed a mysterious force coming. The entire world seemed to be enveloped by it. It was a very evil force. Not good. Soon after, Lin Ling let out a cry of surprise. He realized that his body had been imprisoned, and he couldn't move at all. He couldn't help but lower his head to look, and he immediately discovered that a demonic eye had appeared on his chest. It was this demonic eye that had sealed him. This was definitely the soul-breaking king's innate skill. Moreover, Lin Ling could sense that this innate skill carried a cold soul force attack. The strength of the demon king powerhouses of the myriad worlds was indeed not to be underestimated. Is that all? At this time, in the distance, Duan Han Luo King disdainfully snorted. He didn't reveal any arrogance, because the previous collision had allowed him to realize that Lin Ling's strength was only at this level. It simply wasn't enough to enter his eyes. He stepped forwards, walking towards Lin Ling step by step. A black light appeared behind him, as if it were a cloak formed from demonic shadows, making him seem mighty and awe-inspiring. To defeat you in 2 moves, you have truly disappointed me. However, you are still worthy of praise. You are clearly at the 8th level of the World King realm, but you have relied on some mysterious cultivation method to reach the 10th level of the World King realm. In addition to your 2nd-grade talent, you are truly a monstrous level genius. His voice seemed to dominate all, as if he were saying that no matter how monstrous Lin Ling was, once he fell into the hands of Duan Han Luo King, he was nothing but trash. Blood sacrifice to the devil will I. Hehe, facing Lin Ling, Duan Han Luo King actually used such an ultimate skill. Duan Han Luo King is famous for being cautious. Although Lin Ling is weak, he won't underestimate him. Duan Han Luo King, don't kill him. Looking at the imprisoned Lin Ling, many powerhouses sneered. This was far too simple. To defeat Lin Ling in 2 moves, this was truly disappointing. But on the ground, Tang Yue and the others' pupils shrank. Lin Ling was going to die. If Lin Ling died, then it would be their turn. At this moment, Tang Yue couldn't help but shout out, her voice mixed with worry. Unfortunately, no one was paying attention to her at this moment. But now, Duan Han Luo King had already arrived in front of Lin Ling. He indifferently looked at Lin Ling and said, "Lin Ling, you are far too inexperienced. Although we martial artists are inferior to monstrous geniuses, we have cultivated for a longer time and have more experience. As for you geniuses, although your talent is good, you are nothing more than flowers in a greenhouse. In a true life or death battle, you cannot defeat us ancient martial artists. My blood sacrifice demon will I has imprisoned you. Unless your cultivation is stronger than mine, you will not be able to resist at all." Duan Han Luo King's voice was filled with confidence. This was because he had previously exchanged blows with Lin Ling, so he knew Lin Ling's strength very well. Don't think that you old monsters are the only ones with more experience. We are nothing more than flowers in a greenhouse. I have defeated more old monsters in the past than you have killed. However, just when everyone thought that Lin Ling would beg for mercy, Lin Ling spoke calmly instead. Duan Han Luo King was taken aback by Lin Ling's words. Even at a time like this, Lin Ling still refused to submit? Ridiculous, this is ridiculous. Where does a stray dog get his pride from? Duan Han Luo King couldn't help but laugh out loud. I said that I would give you 2 choices. First, you die. Second, I will kill you. But soon, his smile froze. This was because Lin Ling, who he had imprisoned, was bursting with a towering battle intent at this moment. It was like an unsheathed sword, showing off its sharpness. Lin Ling, was he still hiding his strength? Could it be that Lin Ling had been trying to bewitch him in the previous exchange of blows, making him think that Lin Ling was only a so-so? But Lin Ling was only an 8th-stage world king, so how could he possess such a formidable strength? At this moment, Duan Han Luo King was stunned. He was dumbfounded. This was because he had already given Lin Ling a very high evaluation, but who would have thought that this evaluation was still too low? Are you surprised? In truth, your speed is at the speed of 2 realms. It is very difficult for me to catch up to you, so I could only wait for you to deliver yourself to me. Also, let me tell you something. A true life and death battle is not a head-on confrontation. All is fair in war. You have clearly been tricked. At this time, Lin Ling's long hair wildly danced in the wind. The demon eye floating around his chest also began to crack, unable to block the strength erupting from his body. This was because he had only used Heaven Shocking Change before and hadn't fused his 2 dantians together. The reason he did this was because he wanted Duan Hun Luo King to think that Lin Ling was only a so-so. Of course, the most important reason was that Lin Ling's speed was inferior to Duan Hun Luo King's. This is bad. Duan Hun Luo King was increasingly surprised. Lin Ling's aura was tremendous, it had clearly surpassed the World King realm. Moreover, that fighting spirit was boiling over, as if it were crushing dry weeds. This was an unparalleled fighting spirit, an overbearing fighting spirit, and even more so, a raging flame. From within the imprisonment, a tyrannical fist mixed with raging flames shot out like a meteor. This strength was heaven-shaking and earth-shattering. If Duan Hun Luo King hadn't underestimated his opponent, then he wouldn't have received this strike. In fact, he could have easily avoided it. However, he was too close to Lin Ling. Chapter 25-23. All towards percussion. Bang! A terrifying punch landed on soul-breaking Luo Wang's chest, causing his body to freeze in the air. It's clear that compared to me, you are more like a flower in a greenhouse. At the same time, Lin Ling stepped forwards, slowly walking past Soul Breaker King. Soul Breaker King's eyes flashed. All was fair in war, he had clearly been tricked. Perhaps it was as Lin Ling had said. Compared to Lin Ling, he was more like a flower in a greenhouse. In terms of ruthlessness, in terms of experience, in terms of combat experience, he couldn't compare to Lin Ling. Bang! As he thought this, his entire body exploded. He was burned to death by multicolored flames. His eyes were also burned by the flames, he had died with his eyes wide open. Soul Breaker King died? The hearts of everyone in the skies shook. How could this be? Before, they had all wanted to see Lin Ling being tortured to death. Who would have thought that in the next moment, the one to die wasn't Lin Ling, but Soul Breaker King? And Soul Breaker King was a fierce and ruthless character of his generation. If he were to fight with the second generation of the three great academies, there would likely be no more than 10 people that could defeat him. But now, he had still fallen. This proved that Lin Ling's strength, when placed amongst the second generation, was in the top 10 monstrous geniuses. What a freakish fellow. The four symbols true divinities didn't think that Lin Ling had already grown to such a degree. Even Tang Ming, who had fought with Lin Ling before, sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that his evaluation of Lin Ling had been too low. Not only was Lin Ling a monstrous genius, but he also had a wealth of combat experience. The four of you came to fight me. Now that one of you has died, there are only 3 left. Before, you were the ones who attacked. Now, it's my turn. Lin Ling walked forward step by step. With a shake of the tyrannical song sword in his hand, wisps of black azure chi swirled out, causing the cultivators who were watching the show in the sky to turn serious. Lin Ling's strength was definitely at the half-step true divinity realm. You are only at the 8th level of the Realm King realm, so why is your combat strength so strong? The 3 people in the sky all had solemn expressions on their faces. Because Duanhuan Luo Wang was very strong, they didn't dare to underestimate him, but he still died. This meant that they might not be Lin Ling's match in a one-on-one battle. Everyone has their own trump card, and I naturally have one too. I can tell you that without the true God realm, anyone who goes out to fight will die. Lin Ling didn't hide anything. Since it was a battle to the death, then he might as well use his full strength. He held the tyrannical song sword and rushed out like a stunning swan. His surging battle intent and cold sword Dao appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Especially the experts from Only Me Commandery and Tating Commandery, they all looked extremely solemn. Lin Ling had clearly become a huge problem. Fight, fight, fight. The 3 experts were not inexperienced people. At this moment, they also exploded with a terrifying aura and pounced towards Lin Ling. They were all at the half-step true divinity realm and had powerful chaotic force. Moreover, they could see that Duanhuan Luo Wang died because he underestimated his opponent, so they still had a chance. Walala. A white lake appeared from one of them, as if it came from the chaos of the universe. Another person constantly pointed with 2 fingers, causing a large number of fireflies to float in the sky. The chaotic force was also terrifying. At the very least, their martial arts all had the chaotic force of the first or second level. The reason for that was because they were all level 4-dimensional origin martial techniques. Moreover, their ultimate martial arts had reached the true realm of Tao. As for 4th-grade boundary martial arts, this wasn't something that World King experts could cultivate. Only true divinity realm experts could do so. Join forces and kill him. One of them roared. His attack was extremely ruthless. The experts in the distant sky had cold expressions. Facing a junior like Lin Ling, 3 true divinity realm experts joined forces. Even if Lin Ling died, it would be a glorious death. Sword, come. Staring at the massive attack, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. After coming to the martial god world, this was the first time he had challenged so many experts. Half-step true divinity realm. Lin Ling didn't think that he would face such a powerhouse so soon. However, not only was Lin Ling not afraid, but his fighting spirit was boiling. The large sword in his hands danced in a tempting storm. As the large sword moved, it actually slashed the white lake away. What was even more terrifying was that Lin Ling didn't retreat at all. It was as if he was a tower that stood between the heavens and earth, unmoved even if the heavens collapsed. How can this guy be so strong? The powerhouse that controlled the White Lake cried out in alarm. This was too strange. He was clearly at the 8th level of the World King realm, but his boundary essence was so thick that it was simply unprecedented. Moreover, when Lin Ling swung the ancient sword, he could feel a trace of the true realm of Tao within it. Evildoer, evildoer. As for the distant sky, the 4 symbols true god let out a dignified voice. Lin Ling brought him waves of surprise. In their grand court commandery, beside Sun Bone, which other youth could compare to Lin Ling? No, there was none at all. This made him angry and jealous. Whoosh! At this moment, after Lin Ling slashed the White Lake away, he immediately pounced on one of the powerhouses. He knew that his advantage was his massive boundary essence, so he had to end the battle quickly and destroy these powerhouses with his massive strength. A sword slashed out from his hand as if it was going to split the heavens and earth. This sword was so dazzling that it caused the eyes of countless powerhouses to flicker. Split the sky shield. One of the powerhouses panicked. In his eyes, Lin Ling was like the god of death from the 9 Serenities hell. Therefore, he didn't use any martial arts and directly unleashed his immortal treasure. Immediately, a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. Countless Buddha shields appeared. There were thousands of them and they all blocked in front of the powerhouse. That's Tian Fengzi, the 2nd generation of the Buddhism department in the past Sangling Academy. The crowd stared at the densely packed shields and they were all excited. In the Buddhism department of the 3 academies, Tian Fengzi's reputation was not weak. However, due to his limited talent, he couldn't advance to the next level and finally left Sangling Academy. Now, Lin Ling was challenging a senior, the 2nd generation of the past. Lin Ling, come on. The powerhouse also roared. A huge Buddha appeared behind him, shining with golden light and illuminating the entire universe. A 1st-grade immortal treasure that raised the chaotic energy by 1 level. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes were shining. The chaotic energy was stronger than the boundary essence. Currently, he had only comprehended 1 level of the chaotic energy by relying on the ultimate martial arts and the Ashura sword formation. As for the chaotic energy, it was normally born from the boundary essence martial arts. It was said that only those that surpassed the true divinity realm could completely control this mysterious strength. However, Lin Ling didn't place this powerhouse's chaotic energy in his eyes. "Break for me." He ruthlessly slashed out with his sword. Playing with the chaotic energy? When Lin Ling was still at the 5th level of the World King realm, he had already touched upon the surface. Much less now that his strength had crazily risen. His sword seemed to become even larger, stirring up a storm of blood. If a god blocked it, it would kill a god. If a Buddha blocked it, it would destroy a Buddha. Pang pang pang. The shields immediately shattered, split in two. Moreover, it wasn't just one shield that shattered, but all of the shields were broken by a single sword strike. The second generation of the Zhangling Academy's pupils constricted at this moment. He never imagined that besides Lin Ling's terrifying cultivation boundary, his martial arts were also so terrifying. He was sure that Lin Ling's ultimate martial arts were no weaker than his. Chapter 25-24. Another person was killed. Shua. With his forehead as the center, a sword light cut him in half. His pupils widened. Even in his dreams, he never imagined that death would descend upon him so suddenly. And as the crowd saw Lin Ling cut down another half-step true divinity powerhouse, they could feel just how terrifying Lin Ling was. Those people that had mocked Lin Ling before were now trembling. Without a true divinity powerhouse present, could it be that they couldn't kill Lin Ling? As for the two half-step true divinity powerhouses that were still alive, their complexions were incomparably dignified. What a terrifying genius! What if Lin Ling reached the peak of the World King realm? Then wouldn't he be able to kill a true divinity powerhouse? Die for me, burning sky meteor. Burn! At this moment, the powerhouse that was already preparing a powerful attack pushed his two heads forwards. The light that had been frozen in the sky also began to flash. Then, as if it had locked onto its target, it shot towards Lin Ling. My talent can continuously draw out the world's spiritual energy. I know you can block it, but I want to know just how long you can last. The powerhouse's eyes were red with rage. At this point, he didn't believe that Lin Ling couldn't block his attack. But, his talent was heaven-defying. It was able to summon the world's spiritual energy and continuously attack. With this method, if he were to fight with a martial artist of similar strength, he would be nearly invincible. After all, even if he could block one move, could he block 100, or even 1,000? Burning sky meteor, this is a method to summon meteors from the universe. Looking at this powerhouse, many people's minds shook. They could feel the mighty power that came from the universe. It was grand, sacred, and ancient. The Void Bee has already cultivated in the universe for 8,000 years. Has he finally managed to communicate with the universe? An old man frowned. The Void Bee he spoke of was extremely fierce. He had cultivated in the universe for 8,000 years, but how could an ordinary person withstand such loneliness? And the effects of 8,000 years of bitter cultivation were obvious. At the very least, the Void Bee was able to communicate with the universe and borrow its strength. Rumble rumble rumble. Countless stars shot out like meteors, forming a beautiful scene as they shot towards Lin Ling. It was as if there were millions of bees dancing in the sky. It had to be said that this move was very beautiful. It was called burning the heavens. Dang dang dang. At the same time, Lin Ling's ancient sword danced, constantly cutting away the light that shot towards him. What surprised him was that this strength from the universe wasn't shooting in a straight line. Lin Lin Ling and Lin Lin Ling. As expected, Lin Ling sent a large number of meteors flying, but the sky in front of him was still dazzling. It was as if more eyes had appeared. The next moment, the meteors shot towards him again. Lin. Seeing this, Lin Ling thought to himself. Endless attacks could exhaust a person to death, unless he had the strength to directly destroy them. At this moment, Lin Ling also realized his own weakness. The power of his world essence was formidable and his defense wasn't weak, but his weakness was his speed. Otherwise, he would have been able to pass through the surrounding light and unleash a sure kill strike. Void B is still the most ruthless. Seeing Lin Ling constantly block, the powerhouses in the sky were shaken. Lin Ling would eventually die from exhaustion. Lin Ling, you should be proud of yourself. With your 8th level World King cultivation, you defeated 2 of us. Among the 2nd generation, if not you, who else can be? But, your arrogance will end here. Realizing that Lin Ling could only block and couldn't resist, the powerhouse called Void B's aura surged. He was clearly more cautious than Soul Break King. If he didn't approach Lin Ling, then Lin Ling wouldn't be able to display his advantage. Thinking like this, a proud smile appeared on his face. Azura Sword Array. Lin Ling also knew that it would be difficult to win by relying on world essence. Thus, he immediately activated the Ancient Sword Array. Above the Tyrant Song sword, black sword shadows appeared one after another, floating behind Lin Ling. The sword tips all pointed at Void B. In his heart, soul-breaking Luo King was the strongest among the 4 of them. Next would be the one called Void B. In the next moment, 49 swords shot out, forming an ancient sword array that destroyed everything. You still have other methods? But, I want to see if your attacks are stronger or if mine are stronger. Void B's eyes flashed. Lin Ling was definitely going all out. He only needed to block those swords and then he would win this final battle. His finger pointed to the sky and pressed down. Above his head, more light shot out, shooting towards the Azura sword array, forming a magnificent scene of a hive of bees. However, he had underestimated the might of the Azura sword array. Clang! The moment the 49 swords shot out, they were unstoppable. The light melted like tofu. Under the lead of the black sword, the swords were getting closer and closer to Void B, causing his pupils to constrict. His burning sky meteor could continuously attack, but those swords easily destroyed all of his attacks. Then, even if there was an endless stream, it would not be able to stop the arrival of the swords. You're using a 5th grade sword martial art. Void B was worthy of being an expert who had cultivated for 10,000 years. After pondering for a moment, he immediately understood. It's too late to know now. On the other side, Lin Ling said indifferently. He was still brandishing the ancient sword to block the light. However, he believed that before he could completely block it, Void B would die. Die for me. At this moment, Void B's face became anxious. He activated more light in an attempt to block those ancient swords. Unfortunately, he was unable to use any of them. Under the lead of the lead sword, the Azura sword array could be said to be unstoppable. Sword Heart, that Sword Heart. The 4 symbols real gods had been staring at the Azura sword array all this time. Finally, they cried out in surprise. This was the true realm of Tao of the ultimate sword art. Moreover, not everyone could comprehend the Sword Heart at this realm. Once the Sword Heart appeared, it also represented the Tao Heart. The surprises this guy brings us are endless. The 4 symbols real gods said in shock. Fortunately, Lin Ling still had to die today. Otherwise, with Lin Ling's talent, their Tating commandery would definitely have provoked a formidable enemy. Swoosh! 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 Sure enough, in the eyes of those experts, Void B's body was penetrated by the Azura sword array. Before he died, he pointed at Lin Ling as if he wanted to say something. However, in the end, he did not say anything. The 3rd expert of the half-step true god realm had fallen. Seeing this scene, the faces of the experts in the sky and on the ground turned serious. Although many people knew that Lin Ling was a monstrous genius, it was only when they saw it with their own eyes that they realized where Lin Ling's monstrous talent lay. With just the strength of an 8th-stage world king, he had killed 3 half-step true God realm experts. If such a battle record did not appear before their eyes, they would have thought it was just a rumor. I don't want to fight. Chapter 25-25. A true divinity powerhouse came out to battle. He had seen Lin Ling defeat his opponents one by one with his own eyes. This caused him to lose all will to fight. You don't want to fight? After Space B died, the light in the skies also vanished. Thus, Lin Ling stood in the skies, looking at the last remaining person. This person knew they weren't his match, so they wanted to leave without a fight? This was a life or death battle, how could he give up halfway? I have to fight even if I don't want to. Lin Ling forcefully pressed forwards. He galvanized the sword array and shot it towards the last powerhouse. You are too cruel. I admit defeat and you still want to fight? The powerhouse's face flushed red. He retreated again and again, cursing out loud. Today, he had clearly lost all face. Facing a World King Jr., he didn't dare to fight. However, even if he didn't dare to fight, Lin Ling still didn't plan on letting him go. He wanted to kill him to the end. This was pushing things too far. A dead man doesn't need to speak so much nonsense. Seeing his opponent retreat, the killing intent in Lin Ling's eyes became even thicker. He coldly shouted and the Azura sword array slashed out. With a loud crackling sound, the powerhouse was cut down by the sword array. His body emitted a firecracker-like sound as if something had shattered. Then, he was cut into pieces. The 4 half-step true divinity powerhouses had all died in battle. Of course, although Lin Ling seemed calm, the truth was that he had consumed a great deal of energy. There wasn't much world essence left in his 2 dantians. Can we leave now? Looking at the surprised crowd, Lin Ling lightly said. The powerhouses of the various influences in the skies were silent. From start to finish, they didn't think that Lin Ling would win. But, reality had given them a ruthless slap in the face. Now, they wanted to let Lin Ling leave? I don't have any objections, but that doesn't mean they don't. The Great 4 Symbols True Divinity said. The powerhouses behind him coldly nodded. How could they allow Lin Ling to leave? In particular, after seeing Lin Ling's monstrous strength, this was even more impossible. They really are going back on their words. Tang Yue's eyes were filled with rage as she looked at the shameless faces of those experts in the sky. Although she had long known that the other party would not let Lin Ling go, the Great 4 Symbols True Gods used this sort of excuse. This gave people the feeling that it was too despicable. That's right. The Great 4 Symbols Real God is a man of his word. Lin Ling, you should be grateful. However, you have yet to pass our test. One of the princes from Only Me Commandery said in a righteous tone. Hee, what an irony. You people from the 4 commanderies are really shameless. However, I have never believed your words. Lin Ling sneered. Of course, he would not believe what these people said. Especially after he had shown his strength, these people could not wait to kill him. Then, he raised his sword and said fearlessly, okay, then let's continue to fight. Anyone below the true God realm can come, except for my commandery. You guys are very proud. Now, let your geniuses fight, as many as you want. When these words came out, the faces of the experts from Only Me Commandery turned ugly. As many as they wanted? Lin Ling was looking down on them. Luo Xiao, fight. Let him see the power of Only Me Commandery. The prince from Only Me Commandery shouted angrily. Then, he looked at the people behind him and said. How could he, Only Me Commandery, allow Lin Ling to humiliate everyone? Unfortunately, the people behind him did not dare to fight. Without a true God realm expert, they really did not dare to face Lin Ling. Prince, the expert named Luo Xiao said awkwardly. In his opinion, Lin Ling was bound to die. However, it would be too easy for Lin Ling to die with him. Therefore, he did not want to fight. Trash. The prince's eyes turned cold. He was really going to be looked down upon by Lin Ling. Great Yuan Mansion, what about you guys? At this moment, Lin Ling's heroic voice floated out again as he pointed his sword at Great Yuan Mansion. However, although there were many experts there, those below the true God realm did not dare to fight. Therefore, they were all gnashing their teeth in anger, but there was nothing they could do. Are you all just a motley crew? Lin Ling roared and suppressed the group of heroes with his words. How majestic! Tang Yongyun and the others on the ground laughed excitedly when they noticed the silence in the sky. One person was enough to make the experts of the major forces not dare to fight. This made the major forces lose face. You are so arrogant. In that case, I will fight with you. At this moment, a sarcastic laugh suddenly rang out. A bald old man walked out gloomily. Then, before Lin Ling could speak, he pointed his finger at him. Boy, let me give you some advice. Rumble. The enormous power caused the 9 dragons' realm to shake, and the finger immediately became enormous, covering the sky and the sun. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. True immortal realm? True God. This also meant that the experts of the major forces did not want to lose face. Therefore, they sent the experts of the true God realm to fight. This was simply shameless. Ghost Drinker. Looking at the old man who walked out, Tang Yongyun could not help but curse, do you have any shame? They already said that anyone below the true God realm can fight. You are already in the true God realm. You actually have the nerve to fight? Moreover, you attacked a junior without saying anything. You are simply a disgrace to the heavenly court. That ghost drinker was obviously an expert from the heavenly court. However, his curse was only exchanged for the old man's disdainful smile. Rumble. At this moment, the huge finger suppressed Lin Ling. Before it got close, Lin Ling spat out a mouthful of blood. The ancient sword blocked in front of him in an attempt to block the huge force. The other party did not use martial arts or talent. Just the strength of the true God realm made it difficult for Lin Ling to resist. The true God realm and the half-step true God realm seemed to have a difference of 2 words, but in fact, it was the difference between heaven and earth. Old ghost, I will kill you. Lin Ling didn't think that the other party would attack him like this. His eyes turned red as he roared out loud. But, he was still smashed into the crater by the giant finger, causing a massive amount of divine crystals to fall to the ground. You have no strength and yet you speak such arrogant words. Do you want to die? The old man's eyes stared at Lin Ling as he disappeared into the earth. He mockingly smiled, not caring about Lin Ling's words at all. You're just a world king. No matter how monstrous a genius you are, in front of a true God you are nothing more than a cricket in a bowl. You can play with me however you want. Even if I let you use a single hand, you still cannot touch me. The old man's disdainful words carried with them a domineering aura. Of course, he also had the ability to be domineering. The Lin Ling from before was so arrogant, but now he is nothing more than a stray dog. I want to see just how arrogant this Lin Ling is. Ghost Drinker, let him know how fierce you are. Seeing Lin Ling defeated in a single move, a massive amount of laughter immediately spread out. Many powerhouses felt proud and elated. After all, they had been suppressed by Lin Ling and had lost a great deal of face. Let alone one hand, even if I let him use both hands he still wouldn't be able to do anything to Ghost Drinker. Chapter 25-26. Even a true divinity powerhouse must die. Bang! But just as his voice fell, the earth began to shake. A figure shot into the skies, as if he had rushed out from a divine mine. As he rushed out, he brought with him a massive amount of divine crystals. They sparkled like stars in the sky, extremely dazzling. This figure was Lin Ling. Still not dead? Ghost Dringer's eyes flashed as he indifferently said. However, just as his voice fell, a foreboding feeling rose within him. Lin Ling's speed seemed to instantly rise. Moreover, the strength of his body seemed to become even greater. As he was thinking this, Lin Ling's attack arrived in front of him. Although this fist seemed ordinary, it actually contained an unparalleled strength. You want to injure me with just you? Seeing Lin Ling take the initiative to attack, Ghost Drinker coldly snorted. He crossed his arms in front of him, blocking. But after being struck by the fist, he was immediately sent flying backwards by a mysterious strength, crashing into the pit. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The pit shook once more. Countless divine crystals were sent flying hundreds of meters into the air. The skies were calm, a deathly silence. Lin Ling had sent a true divinity powerhouse flying. Countless eyes looked at Lin Ling floating in the air. They discovered that Lin Ling had blood dripping from the corners of his mouth. It was clear that when Lin Ling blocked Ghost Dringer's attack, he had suffered heavy injuries. But, he had immediately counterattacked? An eye for an eye? But Lin Ling was only at the World King realm, yet he had actually counterattacked a true divinity powerhouse? True divinity was a powerhouse that stood at the peak of the martial arts pyramid. Not to mention the myriad worlds, but even within the martial god world, this was a strength that couldn't be underestimated. And within the three great academies, this was the standard of a first-generation powerhouse. Such a powerful character had actually been sent flying backwards. In that instant, Blue Rain Academy's second-generation powerhouse Tang Jie's pupils trembled. This was because he was well aware just how powerful a true divinity powerhouse was. If it were him, he feared he wouldn't be able to touch a single hair on Lin Ling's head. Rumble. Then, a figure flew out of the crater. It was Ghost Drinker. His face was extremely gloomy. You actually sent me flying? Didn't you say that I wouldn't be able to touch you even if you let me use one hand? On the other side, Lin Ling wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and mocked. As a matter of fact, Lin Ling was no match for a true immortal realm expert. His previous strength came from Queen Xianji. After all, it was impossible for Lin Ling to defeat a true immortal realm expert with his own strength. His words undoubtedly caused Ghost Dringer's eyes to turn red. An enormous power erupted from his body in an unstoppable manner. His killing intent was extremely strong. Your desperate attack only sent me flying. You don't have the right to mock me. He was clearly enraged. Seeing this, Lin Ling's lips curled into an evil smile. Although it's the first time I, Lin Ling, have killed a true immortal realm expert, I've actually lost count of how many of them I've killed. Today, you'll be the first true immortal realm expert to die in my hands. In the past, Li Xiaoyao had killed a true immortal realm expert like killing a dog. Today, Lin Ling had yet to reach such a level. However, he could set a precedent now. Boom! Powerful boundary essence erupted from Lin Ling's body. Layer upon layer, it caused the sky to explode. This is the power of a true immortal realm expert. The hearts of countless cultivators trembled as they sensed the raging power. Lin Ling was a monster? No, he was simply a monster. This guy is so mysterious that I can't see through him. Even Tang Yangyun's eyes narrowed. He didn't know where Lin Ling's strength came from. Hee, you're just a trash at the first stage of true immortal realm. How dare you be so arrogant? At this moment, Queen Xianji's voice appeared in Lin Ling's mind. Lin Ling, I'll lend you my strength. However, I'm afraid you won't be able to last long with your dantian. Don't worry. My divine devil body isn't for show. At least, compared to others, I can last longer. Lin Ling's evil smile became even wider. His body seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Powerful energy surged from his dantian, making him feel like he was roaring at the sky. This kind of power hadn't appeared for a very long time. Ha! At the same time, Lin Ling's laughter drifted out from his mouth. Rumble! He threw out a punch, and the sky immediately shattered like glass. Dew Drinker Ghost wanted to kill Lin Ling, but at this moment, his eyes trembled violently. What a terrifying power! Boom! He could not block that punch at all. That punch looked simple, but it was at least at the 5th stage of True God Realm. His face was smashed askew, and his bones were cracking at this moment. Old ghost, you're not qualified to put on an act in front of me. Bang! Under countless gazes, Dew Drinker Ghost was beaten up like a sandbag by Lin Ling. He was sent from the sky into the crater, and then from the crater to the sky. Overpowered. Completely overpowered. Is this still the same Dew Drinker Ghost who wanted to use both hands? Bang! The experts in the sky were all stunned. The reality in front of them made them feel terrified. They just realized that compared to Tang Yongyun, Lin Ling was the most terrifying existence. On the ground, Tang Yongyun and the others were extremely excited. They never thought that the one who was being tortured was Dew Drinker Ghost. It had to be known that the elites who came to the heavenly pit today were all well-known figures. These elites were arrogant and had long been accustomed to looking down on all living things. But now, a rising star had completely slaughtered all the elites on the divine pedestal stage. This was undoubtedly a dream. Aren't you arrogant? Show me your arrogance. Boom. Don't think that just because you're at the True God Realm, I need to look up to you. Boom. In Dew Drinker Ghost's ears, Lin Ling's mocking voice kept ringing, making Dew Drinker Ghost's heart feel at a loss, anger, and even fear. He couldn't understand how Lin Ling could suddenly increase his power to such a terrifying level. Boom. Following the last punch, Dew Drinker Ghost's neck was gripped by Lin Ling like a dead dog. And Lin Ling looked at Dew Drinker Ghost with an icy gaze, secretly shocked at this guy's endurance. Indeed, after reaching the True God Realm, one's vitality was incomparably strong. What do you want to say now? However, Lin Ling still opened his mouth indifferently. Dew Drinker Ghost raised his head with difficulty and just wanted to speak, but Lin Ling urged out a huge force. Bang! Dew Drinker Ghost's neck was directly crushed by Lin Ling, blood splattering in all directions. Lin Ling knew that Dew Drinker Ghost definitely had a lot to say. Because Dew Drinker Ghost did not think that Lin Ling could kill him like this. Of course, this ancient expert might also be regretting it. He did not expect that because of fighting, he would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. However, Lin Ling did not have time to listen to a dead person's nonsense. Walala. Chapter 25-27. He was willing. Ghost Drinker was a veteran expert of the Heavenly Court. He had traveled through the 4 realms and even the 9 states. It was a form of pride for a warrior to be able to leave the green state. It was a form of recognition of strength. However, when he returned home in glory, he wanted to make his name known again in the green state. However, he died in the 9 Dragons realm today. Lin Ling, what kind of person is he? That great 4 symbols true god looked at Lin Ling with furrowed brows. He completely did not think that this game of toying with Lin Ling would ultimately develop into this. Even a true God realm powerhouse was obliterated too. Was he still an ant in his eyes? He could not help but recall that a long time ago, a young master of the Grand Court Commandery had appeared in the sacred rainforest and was looking for the Sun God tribe that had been chased out of the Grand Court Commandery. However, that young master had died in the hands of a young man. Moreover, the entire branch family had died. This had undoubtedly angered the arrogant Grand Court Commandery. Subsequently, they had also found out that the young man was called Lin Ling and had appeared in the martial god barracks. Subsequently, they had thought that Lin Ling would definitely die for offending the Grand Court Commandery. However, who would have thought that Lin Ling would escape the calamity time and time again and increase his strength at a crazy rate? Now, this demon had fully grown his wings, and even a real god expert would hate him in the underworld. Even the sun god of the 9 heavens of the green state would be ashamed of his speed of growth. Kill, we must kill him. Kill. Thinking of this, the great 4 symbols real god's eyes turned red. The more Lin Ling displayed his strength, the more his desire to kill Lin Ling burned like a volcano. Of course, he was not the only one. It was the same for the others. Since they had become enemies, they had to eliminate the source of trouble. You know that you can't leave here alive today. Kill. The great 4 symbols real God said in a cold voice. His voice was unprecedentedly serious. Kill him. Kill. Under his voice, the experts of the major forces also spoke. They were very sure that if Lin Ling returned to the martial god barracks, his strength would definitely be the number 1 among the 2nd generation. Therefore, they had to stop Lin Ling's footsteps and prevent him from flying higher. Even some experts who had no enmity with Lin Ling wished they could kill Lin Ling at this moment. That was because everyone was selfish. They didn't want a rising star to be above their heads. If they couldn't obtain it, then they would destroy it. Kill. Kill. The entire sky was filled with murderous voices, causing Tang Yongyun and the others on the ground to turn pale. What was supposed to come had finally returned. Tang Yongyun let out a long sigh. Although he knew that he would die, Lin Ling's death would be even more regrettable. If an 8th stage realm king already had such strength, then what would happen in the future? What a pity, what a pity. Even the army behind him felt sorry for Lin Ling. At this moment, they didn't blame Lin Ling because if such a monstrous genius died with them, what else could they be unwilling to accept? Lin Ling, did you hear that? Everyone wants you dead. The great 4 symbols real God sneered when he sensed the overlapping voices in the sky. Lin Ling's gaze swept over and his expression became even colder. He could understand why Grand Court Commandery and my Commandery wanted him dead. However, those experts who had no enmity with him also wanted him dead. It seemed that those people were jealous, in awe, and even afraid of him. Since you all want me dead, then come. Lin Ling's long hair fluttered wildly at this moment. In this life, he had experienced countless life and death tribulations. What was there to be afraid of? At worst, he would die and reincarnate again. Since Lin Ling had chosen this path, he would never regret it. Just like those who provoked him and died at his hands, since they chose to provoke him, they had to face death. It wasn't that they made the wrong choice. Sometimes, Lin Ling made the wrong choice as well. However, the path was one's own choice. No matter how difficult it was, he had to resolutely walk it. Lin Ling will accompany you. Tang Yongyun and the others knew that the final battle was coming. At this moment, all of them began to float up. Of course, their addition didn't cause the great 4 symbols real God and the others to have any scruples. This was because they had more powerhouses on their side and could catch them all in one fell swoop. At present, only Tang Yongyun was a true immortal powerhouse. As for Lin Ling, he also had this strength with the help of a mysterious cultivation method. 2 true immortals weren't enough to cause them to be moved. In fact, they didn't know that Lin Ling was extremely weak at this moment. Even an ordinary world king could defeat him. After experiencing so many battles, he was already exhausted. It looks like you all wish to die. Then, we'll help you out. Kill. The great four symbols true God couldn't restrain his killing intent. He took the lead and flew out. The others also did the same, forming a massive killing cloud in the skies. My lord, I didn't think we would die together with you. Tang Yue smiled from beside Lin Ling. This surprised Lin Ling. He thought that Tang Yue would blame him, but he discovered that she didn't. I'm sorry. I've dragged you all down with me. Lin Ling looked at the others and wryly smiled. At this time, what's the point of saying such things? Let's prepare for the bitter battle ahead. Kill as many as you can. If you kill one, then you've made a profit. If you kill 10, then you'll go to hell and King Yama will reward you. Tang Yongyun smiled, his words free and easy. Good. Just because of these words of yours, I, Lin Ling, will kill 100 people. Hearing this, Lin Ling felt a sense of heroism. He then looked at Dao Dai and wanted to say sorry for dragging them down. However, Dao Dai and the others shook their heads and didn't say anything. They had used their actions to prove their determination. Since they had chosen to believe in Lin Ling, they had no choice but to face the situation calmly. Lin Ling had once told them that they had to be willing to sacrifice to gain something. Only by sacrificing their lives could they gain more. If they lost the bet, it meant that they were only a so-so. There was no such thing as luck on the path of martial arts. Strength came with danger. Let's fight. Lin Ling raised his sword and looked ahead coldly when he sensed the excited gazes of the crowd. Come and kill me. Let's see if you have any teeth. What arrogance. On the other side, the great four symbols true God roared and grabbed at Lin Ling. He wanted to be the first to kill Lin Ling. Queen Xianji, prepare to fight to the death. I'm going to use the spacetime divine steel. Lin Ling drew out all the remaining energy and an ancient divine steel appeared in his right eye. Wait. However, just as the two forces were about to collide, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. It was like a giant hand that caused the earth-shattering aura to disappear instantly. The voice seemed to have come from a faraway place. However, it had a mysterious rhythm that prevented the great four symbols true God from attacking. At this moment, the great four symbols true God and the others narrowed their eyes and felt great pressure in their hearts. Rumble. In just a moment, the sky cracked open and lightning flashed. Along with the dazzling lightning, a white skeleton appeared from the void. Gradually, everyone could see that it was the skeleton of a huge lightning dragon. Chapter 25-28. Thunder Dragons Pulling the Chariot. Crack. 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 Tens of thousands of thunder dragon skeletons flew out from the void, pulling an ancient bronze chariot. On the chariot, a scholar was drinking wine and looking at the crowd with a smile. The scholar was very elegant. He wore a loose brown robe and looked lazy. He had a flagon of wine in his right hand and a scroll in his left. It was as if he had traveled thousands of miles and read thousands of books. However, his aura made everyone's heart tremble. A touch of heavenly power suppressed everyone's heart. Thunder Dragon Skeletons. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. Long Patian, whom he had defeated, had become the third-generation genius with the help of the Thunder Dragon Skeletons. Now, the scholar was using thunder dragons as his mounts. Not only one, but tens of thousands of them. However, after being surprised, Lin Ling's lips curled into a smile. Because, he had waited for so long. What's going on? At this moment, the four symbols real gods looked at the scholar in horror. Using thunder dragons to pull the chariot, how extravagant. The scholar sitting on the war chariot gulped down another mouthful of wine. Then, he looked at the crowd with a smile. That smile gave people a feeling of being bathed in the spring breeze. "Come out." Then, the scholar closed the scroll and waved his hand lightly. In the sky behind him, roaring sounds continued to be heard. Bone chariots flew out one after another. Their aura was so terrifying that it shook the 9 dragons' realm. These experts seemed to have surpassed the true god realm. How terrifying! The crowd trembled. When did the North Territory attract such experts? Shouldn't they be in the 9 states? Moreover, what exactly were the origins of these powerhouses whose strength reached the heavens and the earth? Even Tang Yanyun's face was pale. He was sure that Square Commandery was like a grain of rice compared to this great power. If they wanted to destroy Square Commandery, it would only take them 2 hours. "Senior, I am from Tating Commandery, an ally of the great Qing divine dynasty. May I know why you are here?" After a short silence, the 4 symbols' real god immediately bowed. He did not dare to say the name of Tating Commandery. Only by mentioning the name of the great Qing divine dynasty would he be qualified to speak. As soon as he bowed, everyone behind him also bowed in fear. "Hee, there's no need to be so courteous. I'm only here to look for someone." Unexpectedly, the scholar was easy to talk to, but Lin Ling sneered at the voice. Was that really the case? The great 4 symbols' true god obviously didn't expect the other party to be so easy to talk to. Could it be that the other party was giving face to the great Azure god dynasty? He couldn't help but smile and say, "May I know Senior's name?" "We don't have a proper name. We're just the Creator Alliance." The scholar was still smiling. Boom! As soon as his voice fell, everyone's hearts exploded, as if they had seen the most terrifying thing in their lives. Creation Alliance, 9 states 10 ferocious. This was an alliance of elites whose ominous name had spread throughout the 9 prefectures. It was said that the members of this alliance were all madmen, and their goal was to create a new world. Wherever they went, there would be a reign of terror. And this ancient and powerful pillar had actually appeared in front of their eyes today. At this moment, everyone felt their hearts turn cold, incomparably cold. Now that the Creator's Alliance had arrived, there was only one outcome for them, and that was death. "You have my illusory lightning jade pendant?" Just when everyone was like cicadas in winter, that scholar swept his gaze over and suddenly stared at Lin Ling as he spoke. His words caused the 4 true deities to draw in a breath of cold air. Lin Ling was acquainted with such an expert. Indeed. Lin Ling knew the scholar's intention and immediately nodded with a smile. Seeing Lin Ling nod, the scholar's expression remained calm, but Lin Ling could clearly sense a hint of excitement in his eyes. "Bring me to see her." As expected, the scholar immediately said. He no longer had the scholarly look from before, and he was obviously anxious. At this moment, the image of that cute little fox had already appeared in his mind. Although they had only met once, perhaps it was fate that had left him with an indelible memory. In the endless years that followed, he had been waiting for the little fox's voice, but the voice transmission talisman he had left for the little fox did not respond. This caused his heart to turn to ash. This also caused him to become cruel and ruthless. In a fit of anger, he had once exterminated the population of 5,000 worlds. Unfortunately, anger could not change reality. In the years that followed, he continued to search for the little fox in the 4 worlds, climbing countless mountains and traversing vast oceans and ancient rivers. Unfortunately, the little fox that he had met once in the past had disappeared without a trace. In the end, he was sure that the white fox was dead. However, not long ago, he finally received a voice transmission. At that moment, he had given up on the battle with his mortal enemy and rushed over from the distant southern border. When he arrived here and saw Lin Ling nod, he was excited. If not for the fact that there were so many people around, his eyes would have already moistened. If only life was like the first time we met. No one would have thought that this ruthless person would have the heart of a tiger sniffing a rose. Yes, but there is a condition. Just as he was waiting for Lin Ling's reply, Lin Ling suddenly smiled faintly. How dare you? After Lin Ling's voice, the experts behind the scholar immediately shouted angrily. Their orderly aura caused the clouds to roll in the sky. Even the four symbols True God and the others turned pale. Lin Ling had actually rejected the Creator Alliance. He was courting death. He was definitely courting death. Senior, who are you looking for? We can help you. This guy who doesn't know what's good for him is better off killing him. The four symbols True God pondered for a moment before immediately speaking. Perhaps this was their only chance of survival. That's right. If he's in the Nine Dragons realm, we'll go through fire and water to find him. The others also spoke up one after another, grasping at the last straw of hope. No need. However, the scholar didn't even look at them. He simply said that he didn't need it, and his words were accompanied by a strong killing intent. It was as if he did not like others interrupting when he was speaking. Once someone interrupted, the outcome would be death. Rumble. The experts behind the four symbols True God immediately began to melt. Their flesh and blood dripped onto the ground like water, leaving only their bones floating in the sky. The terrifying thing was that these bones were still alive. They were the experts who had spoken before. How terrifying. Seeing this, Tang Yongyun and the others began to tremble. As for the four symbols True God and the others, their foreheads were full of cold sweat. They did not dare to move at all. The scholar continued to smile at Lin Ling as if he was doing the most normal thing. He seemed to be asking for Lin Ling's opinion. Lin Ling's heart also trembled. He was sure that this scholar was an even more ancient existence than Li Xiaoyao. Of course, if Li Xiaoyao was still alive, who was stronger and who was weaker would only be known after a battle. There's no free lunch in this world. If you want me to look for someone, I'll say it again. Promise me one thing. Chapter 25-29. All of them were dead. Lin Ling's personality was that the more unreasonable the other party was, the more fearless Lin Ling would be. Moreover, he had helped White Fox without any compensation, so the scholar should owe him a favor. If the scholar was so overbearing and unreasonable, Lin Ling would be disappointed. After all, White Fox had waited for so many years for such a man. Lin Ling felt indignant on her behalf. At this moment, the scholar picked up the wine jug and drank. He looked calm, but the experts behind him narrowed their eyes. Generally speaking, the calmer Lord Lu Chen was, the angrier he was. At that time, corpses would be strewn everywhere, and blood would flow like a river. For a moment, the experts all looked at Lin Ling, thinking that Lin Ling did not know how to appreciate favors. Irrelevant people, leave this place immediately. However, just as they thought the scholar was going to kill someone, the scholar finished the jug of wine and looked at the people around him with a smile. He didn't kill anyone. The experts of the Creation Alliance were all shocked. Once, in the Eastern Territory, there was also a genius who was arrogant and domineering. When he saw Lord Lu Chen, he was not afraid. At that time, Lord Lu Chen was also all smiles as he drank a jug of wine. However, one moment he was elegant, the next moment he bared his fangs. Not only did he kill that genius, he even slaughtered that entire territory. This was the anger of an expert. No matter how talented that genius was or what kind of background he had, when he encountered Lord Lu Chen, even a dragon would have to bow before him. This was also the pride of an expert. And now, Lord Lu Chen had actually let those people go. This was the first time something like this had ever happened. We can leave now. Hearing this, the four symbols True Gods were all delighted. But these godly ores. However, some people looked at the sinkhole unwillingly. This was how humans were. A moment ago, they were still worried about their own lives, but when their lives were no longer in danger, they would start to covet the rewards in front of them. After all, they had gathered here for a long time, and now they had not obtained anything. How could they be satisfied? In fact, they were even inferior to Tang Yongyun. At least the latter had robbed a lot of godly crystals. Do you want your lives or the godly ores? His Excellency spared your lives, you should be content. To think that there were people who were willing to sacrifice their lives for the divine crystals. This was a joke to the Creator's Alliance. These ants didn't know Lord Lu Chen's murderous nature. Otherwise, they would have run far, far away from the Nine Dragons' realm. No, let's go. After the Great Four Symbols' true god calmed down, he immediately waved his hand. His forehead was also covered in cold sweat. Only now did he remember what kind of ambitious and ruthless character he was facing. Wait. However, just when they thought they had escaped with their lives, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded out, and the voice was mixed with dense killing intent. Oh. Countless people looked at the person who spoke and discovered that it was Lin Ling. Big Four Symbols' true god, and the rest immediately sneered. This Lin Ling still dared to be arrogant at this moment? They couldn't help but look forward to what would happen next. Perhaps Lin Ling's arrogance would completely enrage the scholar. The condition I mentioned before is to kill all of them. If you agree, I'll take you to see her. At this moment, Lin Ling looked at the scholar with a determined gaze and sharp killing intent. Previously, everyone wanted Lin Ling dead. If there was a chance, Lin Ling would also kill everyone. Others wanted to kill him, so he would kill them in return. It was that simple. How dare you? Hearing that, the Great Four Symbols' true god and the rest didn't expect Lin Ling to make such a request. Today, if not for the arrival of the Creator's Alliance, Lin Ling would have been dead. Now, not only did Lin Ling not feel lucky, he wanted to kill them all. He was so arrogant that he couldn't see through himself. You think you have the right to make conditions with His Excellency? The others also looked coldly at Lin Ling. He didn't believe that the expert riding the lightning dragon would listen to Lin Ling. Are you sure? You should know that no one has ever made conditions with me before. If they do, the price will be great. At this time, the scholar looked at Lin Ling with surprise. After all, even a true Divinity Realm martial artist would feel fear and trepidation when encountering him. As for Lin Ling, he was only at the World King realm and yet he didn't seem to fear him at all. You have no other choice. However, the scholar thought that Lin Ling would be respectful to him. But, Lin Ling only lightly replied. It was as if he were saying, "This is the only choice I can give you." The scholar couldn't help but laugh. As for the powerhouses of the Creator's Alliance, they sucked in a breath of cold air. This youth's tone was far too bold. Even the Great Four Symbols' true god and the others believed that Lin Ling would undoubtedly die. They didn't leave for the time being. To be able to see Lin Ling die in front of their eyes was already an extremely good thing. Since I've come here, I already have a way to find her. Don't you think it's naive for you to use this to threaten me? After the scholar laughed, his complexion turned icy cold. When he laughed, he wanted to kill. When he was icy cold, he was even crazier when he killed. The powerhouses of the Creator's Alliance hadn't seen Lord Lu Chen reveal such an icy expression for a long, long time. I know you can find her, but you've made her wait for endless years. Can you make up for all of this? This is what you owe her. A woman who has waited for you for so long isn't someone you can see just because you want to. Lin Ling lightly said. Bang! These words caused the scholar's heart to thump. Sincerity. Lin Ling seemed to want to see his sincerity. Most importantly, Lin Ling was speaking from the perspective of White Fox. This feeling was like Lin Ling was White Fox's little brother. He was fighting for his big sister's dignity. A woman had waited for him for endless years. Could he, Lu Chen, find her just because he wanted to? Perhaps Lin Ling also wanted to know his heart. I understand. A solemn expression appeared on the scholar's face. For the first time, he took a deep look at Lin Ling. This was because he realized that this young man not only wanted to use him to kill the enemy, but he also wanted to test him. If this were to happen to anyone else, they would simply be courting death. However, for the sake of White Fox, he felt that everything was worth it. Everyone, die. The scholar looked at the four symbols, true gods and the others. An icy killing intent also emanated from him. What? My lord, don't listen to him. He's trying to drive a wedge between us. The four symbols, true gods and the others, narrowed their eyes. They could have left before, but they wanted to see Lin Ling die, so they stayed behind. However, what awaited them was the scythe of the Grim Reaper. You mean I'm stupid, so he's trying to drive a wedge between us? The scholar smiled, and there was a hint of mockery in his smile. I dare not. What I mean is that my lord has his own principles. How can you listen to the words of a minor character? Moreover, this minor character's strength is as weak as trash, but he repeatedly disrespected my lord. My lord, you should kill him as an example to others and prove your awe-inspiring name. The four symbols, true gods, hurriedly bowed and said. How could they do their best to make that scholar change his mind? Sorry, I'm a temperamental person. Occasionally, I also like to listen to the words of minor characters. However, the scholar tilted his head and replied indifferently. That calm voice undoubtedly made the four symbols, true gods and the others, turn ashen. Dead. Were they all going to die? Chapter 25-30. Nine Lantern Fish. The person who controlled their lives was actually a junior at the World King realm. Because the scholar seemed to be in a good mood, he was planning to let them go. No. Lord, please spare us. Thinking of this, many people began to shout. Unfortunately, the scholar only smiled. He opened his mouth and spat out a black fog that filled the sky. A bone-chilling killing intent covered the entire sky. The powerhouses of the Creator Alliance licked their lips as if they were extremely interested in this massacre. Obviously, they had done this many times before. I don't want to die here. The sky was in chaos as countless lives were being devoured. As for the four symbols, true God and the other powerhouses, they were no longer calm. Their faces were pale as they lost their cool in panic. However, the billowing black fog shrouded them and constantly devoured them, making it impossible for them to escape from the black fog. The people here are my people. Seeing the terrifying black fog, Lin Ling's expression turned solemn as he hurriedly shouted. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the all-devouring black fog drifted away and did not rush towards Tang Yongyun and the others. I've escaped. At this moment, at the edge of the black fog, the four symbols, true God's figure appeared. He had actually escaped from the black fog. However, after he used all his strength to rush out, people were horrified to discover that the front half of his body was normal, but the back half of his body, including the back of his head, had turned into white bones. White bones on one side and flesh on the other. This was terrifying. What was even more terrifying was that the great four symbols, true God, didn't seem to notice this. He laughed heartily, but at the same time, the flesh and blood on the front half of his body began to melt like water. In the end, he was nothing but a skeleton. The skeleton was still laughing, its teeth and eye sockets were clearly visible. Moreover, the black fog in the sky seemed to have begun to disperse, revealing countless white bones. The powerhouses from before had all turned into white bones. They were not dead for the time being, but they were all looking at themselves in pain. Many of these powerhouses were indomitable existences in the Green Prefecture, especially the true God Realm powerhouses. They were the overlords of various forces, but now, they were no different from mortals. In fact, they had died more miserably than ordinary people. How terrifying! Tang Yue said with a pale face. Could it be that the person Lin Ling was talking about is him? Tang Yongyun also said nervously. Lin Ling is really a madman. He actually asked a tiger for its skin. One had to know that if Lin Ling had lost the bet, the ones who would have turned into bones would have been them. In fact, Lin Ling's palms were sweating. He was indeed gambling, and if he lost, there was no need to think about the consequences. Fortunately, he made the right bet. A man who could make White Fox wait for thousands of years was not someone without principles. No. At this moment, the skeletons in the sky were getting weaker and weaker. They let out indignant cries and looked at Lin Ling with their empty eyes. Because it was Lin Ling who forced them to die. At this moment, many thoughts appeared in their minds. What if they had allowed Lin Ling to leave earlier? Perhaps they wouldn't die. This was because they also sensed that the Creator's Alliance had come for Lin Ling. This also meant that Lin Ling had brought disaster to them. I will not let you go even if I become a ghost. That great four symbols true deity said extremely weakly. Unfortunately, his bones began to age, producing cracks, breaking apart inch by inch. I don't want to die. Then, the four symbols real God let out a painful groan. He watched himself die without any pain. This feeling was indescribable. Moreover, if he had not come to the Nine Dragons realm, he would still be in existence above everyone else. However, this luxurious life was getting further and further away from him. In the end, the four symbols real God turned into broken bones and floated on the ground. As for the experts in the sky, their bones were also broken and fell to the ground one by one. Gradually, the experts of the major forces were all wiped out. Seeing the arrogant major forces turn into piles of yellow soil, Lin Ling and the others sighed. In the rainforest Holy Land, not to mention the true immortal realm, even the World King realm was like a god. However, even this godlike existence could not escape the laws of the world and return to the most basic existence. All of this felt unreal. Little friend, can you bring me there? Yes. The scholar looked at Lin Ling as if what he had just done was nothing out of the ordinary. Life, death, blooming and withering, this is the great law of the universe. They have only returned to the law. There is no need to be too surprised. The scholar said again, treating the deaths of these people as the great law of the universe. Follow me. Yes. Lin Ling did not waste time and led the scholar forward. As for the divine mine in the sinkhole, Lin Ling did not want to touch it. After all, with the arrival of the Creator's Alliance, the divine mine would obviously belong to them. Fortunately, they had looted a lot of divine mines before, so this trip was not a loss. The scholar asked the Creator's Alliance to stay behind while he followed Lin Ling alone. At this moment, his heart was also excited. Everyone's speed was very fast. Not long after, they arrived at the valley again. Little White. Staring at the valley, the scholar's expression was undoubtedly more excited. It seemed that without the others from the Creator's Alliance, he had also released his true self. Lin Ling even saw that the scholar's eyes were moist. Is this the array that trapped her? No wonder I couldn't find her after searching for so long. The scholar stared at the array, anger appearing on his face. He could imagine how long the white fox had been trapped in the array. If Lin Ling had not luckily encountered the array, then even with his monstrous strength, he might not have been able to find this place. In the end, he could only be separated from the white fox by life and death. Involuntarily, he looked at Lin Ling solemnly and finally bowed. He finally understood why Lin Ling had made such a request. It was because this was indeed a great favor. After I break the array, I will properly thank you. The scholar said word by word. No need. You helped me kill people, and I brought you here. We don't owe each other anything. Moreover, I have important matters to attend to, so I will leave first. Lin Ling shook his head and said. With his current strength, it was very uncomfortable to come in contact with such an expert, so he did not plan to stay any longer. The scholar did not expect Lin Ling to be so straightforward. He thought that Lin Ling would make all kinds of requests. He quickly bowed again and said, "Okay, after this, I will look for you." At this moment, he was not a formidable person who dominated the 9 states, but an ordinary person who owed him a favor. 9-lantern fish. After that, he did not say much. He opened his mouth and spat out a terrifying talent. It was as if he had spat out a black ocean. In that ocean, a huge black fish was tossing and turning. The chaotic aura was extremely dense in the universe. What was surprising was that the fish's head had 9 lantern-like tentacles hanging on it. Each lantern was of a different color and seemed to have a power that could not be underestimated. Seeing this, Lin Ling's expression became serious. Chapter 25-31. Anxious to return. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The fish opened its mouth and spat out a multicolored beam of energy that shot into the mountain valley like a column of water. Ka ka ka. The demon-suppressing array formation of the mountain valley immediately shattered. Fragments of ancient spiritual energy shot out in all directions like chunks of ice. The ancient array formation couldn't block a single strike. This strength was terrifying, as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. It caused Lin Ling and the others to draw back. Little White. The scholar didn't care about the terrifying strength that erupted in front of him. He revealed a crazed smile and shot into the mountain valley. At the same time, in the mountain valley, a woman in a white dress looked up at the skies. Her delicate body shivered. At this moment, she was beautiful, extremely beautiful. Big Brother Lu. She also cried out in pleasant surprise. Then, she also flew into the skies. In this moment, it was like they had returned to tens of thousands of years ago, to the first encounter between White Fox and the scholar. This was a relationship that traced back tens of thousands of years. Let's go. Seeing this warm scene, Lin Ling's heart also warmed. Then, he waved his hand and led everyone away. Thinking about it, the scholar and young man also had thousands of words to say to each other. Thus, it was better to leave this moment to the two of them. Thank you. White Fox looked at the departing Lin Ling and knelt down in the air. After leaving the array formation, her strength had quietly recovered, surpassing the true divinity realm. However, facing the World King realm Lin Ling, she still knelt down. No matter how strong Lin Ling was, he was still her benefactor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But compared to White Fox's excitement, the scholar was even more excited. When all of this appeared in front of him, he knew just how great of a favor he owed this youth. A woman has waited for you for tens of thousands of years. Moreover, she has lived through these dry and dull years. This is rare. Don't let her down, otherwise I, Lin Ling, will be the first one to not let you go. Now, accompany her and have a good chat. Lin Ling waved his hand with his back to the two of them and left in a carefree manner. Tang Yanyan's pupils shrank. Lin Ling wouldn't let the scholar go. Lin Ling's words were truly bold. Of course, of course. However, the scholar nodded heavily, as if he believed that if he let the White Fox down, Lin Ling would definitely not let him off. White Fox was stunned for a moment. Tears welled up in her eyes. At that moment, all the words she wanted to say turned into a single word of thanks, which was buried deep in her heart. Lin Ling led Tang Yongyun and the others out of the Nine Dragons realm, appearing in the chaos of the universe. Tisk, TSK. Today's encounter is truly a silver lining. Little friend Lin Ling, you're still the best. Tang Yongyun looked at Lin Ling in surprise. At this moment, he no longer had the airs of a senior. I was just lucky. Now, let's split the loot. Lin Ling waved his hand and said with a smile. He hurriedly took out his divine crystal. The others immediately did the same, causing a large number of divine crystals to float around in the void. According to the previous agreement, I'll take 30%. Lin Ling licked his lips and immediately said with a smile. There were a lot of divine crystals, enough for him to use for a long time. The adventure this time was finally over. Not only had Lin Ling's strength greatly improved, but his harvest was also beyond his imagination. Let's split it 50-50. After all, we didn't do anything. Hearing this, the others spoke one after another. At this moment, they were completely convinced by Lin Ling. That's right. Take 50%. Tang Yongyun also agreed. He knew that the real gods of the four symbols returned empty-handed. They even lost their lives. How could they not be satisfied with such a harvest? No need. 30% it is. I'm a man of my words. Lin Ling rejected Tang Yongyun's good intentions. He didn't like to raise the price after the event. How about this? I'll represent Square Commandery and owe you a favor. In the martial god realm, you only need to say one word, and Square Commandery will move for you. Tang Yongyun pondered for a moment and said immediately. Tang Yue, who was beside him, couldn't help but smile. Lin Ling had unlimited potential and was connected to many powerful forces and experts. Now, the Square Commandery had a good relationship with Lin Ling, which was a good thing for Square Commandery. Okay. Lin Ling nodded. After taking his share of divine crystals, he waved his hand and left. Your Excellency, I'll wait for you in the martial god realm. Seeing Lin Ling leave, Tang Yue said with a smile. As expected, as someone who worked for Lin Ling, she would never lose out. Then you go back first. I'll be back to the Bright Academy soon. Also, thank you for your suggestion. Lin Ling shrugged. If Tang Yue hadn't asked him to come to the Nine Dragons realm, Lin Ling wouldn't have been able to gain so much. Therefore, he was grateful to Tang Yue. Hearing this, Tang Yue nodded. After Lin Ling left, Tang Yongyun said, This Lin Ling is not simple. Princess Yue, you've finally grown up. You have your own choice and vision, and you've made the right choice. It was Tang Yue who had decided to let them follow Lin Ling, and she had made the right bet. Lin Ling had controlled everything from the beginning to the end. He was the ruler of the entire Nine Dragons realm. Following him has taught me to be decisive. Tang Yue looked into the distance and said. Her Excellency was probably the expert she would pursue for the rest of her life. At this moment, Lin Ling wasn't in a hurry to return to the Bright Academy. He had left the rainforest sacred ground for many years, and he wanted to go back and take a look. Beside Lin Ling were Dao Dai and the others. They knew that Lin Ling had something to do and had to leave. Therefore, they said gratefully to Lin Ling, thank you. We'll meet again next time. Okay, I hope we'll meet again. Looking at these friends who had fought side by side, Lin Ling felt a little reluctant, but he still replied with a smile. He knew that the martial god realm was too big. Therefore, friends like Dao Dai and the others were just strangers he had met by chance. It would be very difficult for them to meet again. However, all good things must come to an end. When it was time to leave, he still had to leave. Lin Ling said a few more words and then shot forward. Looking at Lin Ling's back, Dao Dai and the others had mixed feelings and spoke fiercely. If Lin Ling returns to the three great academies, the three great academies will definitely be alarmed. Unfortunately, Lin Ling is too strong. We can't keep up with his footsteps. We can only look up to him forever. Yes, but it's not bad to get to know him. In the future, when Lin Ling's name shakes the martial god realm, I'll be able to brag to my friends. Let's go back. At this moment, Lin Ling was walking around the universe. After experiencing the White Fox incident, he cherished the people around him even more. Therefore, he was eager to return home. Then, Lin Ling walked on the martial god path. When he appeared again, a familiar smell hit him in the face. Lin Ling couldn't help but feel refreshed. However, he wasn't in a hurry to return to the rainforest sacred ground. Instead, he floated in the sky and enjoyed the hard-won tranquility. At this moment, his soul power was quietly increasing. Currently, his strength could be said to be invincible among the second generation. However, the battle with the half-step true god realm expert showed him his weakness. It was his speed. Chapter 25-32. Seeing an old friend again. The third transformation of the evil flame change increases the realm of three realms. It also has resistance against the power of wind, thunder, and water. Most importantly, it can increase the speed of wind and clouds. Lin Ling muttered to himself as he walked along the ground. He casually walked and arrived at the Saint's grand domain. This was another continent of the mortal world in the past. The Death Arrow martial god. Staring at the prosperous continent, Lin Ling's eyes flashed as he saw an acquaintance. It was Li Xiaoyao's former opponent in the mortal world. However, the Death Arrow martial god had been crippled by Lin Ling and was living an ordinary life. Of course, as a cultivator, he lived by the martial Tao. Even if his cultivation was crippled, he would subconsciously cultivate again. On a remote mountain range in the Saint's grand domain, the sun shone brightly. Three figures bathed in the sunlight as they chatted happily. This was a family. A wife, a husband, and a child. The wife and child were grilling meat while the husband was looking into the distance, enjoying the warmth of the family. "Father, the meat is ready." At this moment, the child spoke. In fact, the child was already a teenager. "All right, I'll try your cooking." The man laughed as he strode forward. The sense of accomplishment in his heart grew even stronger. In the past, he was Li Xiaoyao's mortal enemy. He wanted to kill Lin Ling but failed in the end. Instead, his cultivation was crippled by Lin Ling. In the following days, he knew that in this ruthless world, it was absolutely impossible to stand without cultivation. Therefore, he cultivated again. Although he did not recover his former strength, he had entered the Saint realm and was an existence that could not be underestimated in the nearby area. This way, he could also protect his family. Of course, there were many geniuses in the mortal world. In the past few years, more powerhouses had risen. Many rising stars had reached Wu Sheng's level and were stronger than him. Therefore, he needed to work harder. For this family, he would become stronger. Just as he walked towards the teenager, a figure suddenly appeared on the mountain peak and smiled at the man. Lin Ling. The man's eyes narrowed as he instantly recognized the young man. Even the teenager gasped. In the past, Lin Ling came and said that he would kill his father. In the end, he spared his father's life. Therefore, he knew that the young man was extremely powerful. Long time no see, Death Arrow martial god. Surprisingly, the person who had come was Lin Ling. He was just passing by and wanted to see an old friend. The Death Arrow martial god was Li Xiaoyao's mortal enemy in the past, and he was also Li Xiaoyao's opponent during his growth. But now, not to mention Li Xiaoyao, even Lin Ling didn't treat him as an opponent. Not to mention that the enmity of the past had been dispersed along with the crippling of the Death Arrow martial god's cultivation. Don't be so nervous, I'm just here to see you. Noticing the Death Arrow martial god's serious expression, Lin Ling said with a faint smile. The Death Arrow martial god was stunned when he heard this, and then he sighed lightly. If Lin Ling wants to kill me, he really doesn't have to go through so much trouble. Since you're here, let's sit down and eat. The Death Arrow martial god invited. Lin Ling smiled and sat down. He accepted the wine offered by the Death Arrow martial god and chatted as though they were friends. The wife and son of the Dead Arrow martial god were terrified at the beginning. However, when they saw that Lin Ling was an amiable person, they gradually relaxed. Uncle, you appeared in an instant just now. What kind of martial arts is that? It's so powerful. The youth looked at Lin Ling with admiration. You, don't even think about it. The martial arts that he can cultivate is not something that you can comprehend. Even your father can't. Death Arrow martial god scolded with a smile. On the other hand, Lin Ling nodded his head. This was because the martial arts he had learned before were the boundary origin martial arts. Without the boundary origin seed, he would not be able to cultivate them. Then how strong is this uncle? The youth also learned martial arts, so he was curious about powerful martial artists. And now, even his father was afraid of this person, so he must be very strong. His name is Lin Ling, the strongest martial artist in our world. Speaking of this, the Death Arrow martial god did not hide anything and said calmly. His words were mixed with pride. It was as though he was not as powerful as Lin Ling, but he knew Lin Ling. This was something to be proud of. Lin Ling? Lin Ling? Could it be that, sir? The youth was also holding the wine bowl, but at this moment, the wine bowl fell to the ground. In this world, there were not many martial artists who had not heard of Lin Ling's name. He was the most terrifying genius in the history of this world. He was also recognized as the strongest martial artist in the three mysteries of the human world, the ghost world, the demon world, and even their continent. He never expected that the handsome uncle that his father knew had such a great background. It's just a false reputation. Seeing the youth's surprised look, Lin Ling smiled helplessly. Then, he looked at the Death Arrow martial god. You've reached the Saint Realm. Not bad. I'm sorry. Back then, you destroyed my cultivation. I should have been an ordinary person, but the demonic beasts here are powerful. In addition, there are many overbearing people here. So, in order to protect this family, I cultivated again. Hearing this, the Death Arrow martial god immediately smiled bitterly because he had broken his promise. It's okay. You're just doing what a man should do. Lin Ling did not care about this at all. Then, he pondered for a while and a piece of divine crystal appeared in his right hand. Colorful flames spread out from his palm and burned the divine crystal. Wisps of chaotic spiritual energy wrapped around the Death Arrow martial god's body like dragons. Seize the opportunity and absorb the spiritual energy into your body. At the same time, Lin Ling said calmly. The Death Arrow martial god's body trembled. He sensed that the spiritual energy was very ancient and rich. It gave him a feeling that it did not come from this world. At that moment, he seized the opportunity and quickly cultivated. After the spiritual energy entered his body, he immediately realized that it was a divine crystal. However, it was even purer than the divine crystals of this world. Under the influence of the mysterious spiritual energy, his cultivation immediately rose crazily and reached the Wuxia realm. Moreover, it did not stop. It rose crazily from the first realm and gradually stepped into the martial emperor realm. Although he still did not recover his former strength, at least he was at the same realm as before. The most terrifying thing was that this was only the effect of a divine crystal in a short period of time. After an unknown period of time, the Death Arrow martial god opened his eyes and looked at Lin Ling in shock. Lin Ling allowed him to recover his strength with a flip of his hand. This was a great favor. No need to thank me. I just wanted to help your family. Lin Ling naturally knew that the other party was surprised. He said with a smile. The Death Arrow martial god did not act pretentiously. He took a deep breath and then bowed heavily. Next, he poured out some wine and gave it to Lin Ling with both hands. Now that his strength had increased greatly, even if someone dared to bully him, he would not be afraid. Your cultivation level is rising very quickly because you have reached this level before. Even so, your foundation is still not solid. You should focus on stabilizing your cultivation level during this period of time. Lin Ling said again. Okay. Chapter 25-33. Accepting a Disciple. 8th level of the World King Realm. Lin Ling didn't hide it, making the Death Arrow martial god smile bitterly. A long time ago, you were still Li Xiaoyao, and I was your opponent. At that time, you were the first to leave here and reach the martial god realm. Now, you have reincarnated and are the first to go to the martial god realm. You have reached the realm that I have been pursuing my entire life. It seems that whether it is you or Li Xiaoyao, both of you are opponents that I will never be able to surpass. The World King realm must have given birth to a World King seed. This was the martial arts goal that the Death Arrow martial god had been pursuing for his entire life. Unfortunately, he still failed. He could only look up to Lin Ling. On the path of martial arts, as long as you haven't reached the end, everything is hard to say. Maybe it won't be long before your strength catches up to mine. Alright, let's not talk about this. Let's drink. Lin Ling smiled and waved his hand. His realm seemed to be rising quickly, but sometimes it was in a life and death crisis. While he was catching up with his old friend, the rainforest sacred land was bustling with noise and excitement. Because today, Lin Yi had returned from his training. Grandpa, I'm back. When a clear voice sounded, the entire rainforest sacred land was shaken. Old ancestor Taiyan, Mo Nianchen, and the others all walked out with smiles on their faces. Lin Yi had gone out to train, stepped into the three profound of the mortal world, entered the ghost realm, and barged into the devil realm. Young Master Yi, you're back. Lady Shui Wu and the other experts also returned from afar. Then, they looked at Lin Ling with doting eyes. This was because they had watched Lin Yi grow up. This little guy had followed in his father's monstrous footsteps and had reached Wu Sheng's realm at such a young age. This training took 3 years, and I saw a lot of interesting things. Lin Yi's childish face had already left. His facial features were distinct, and he had the outline of Lin Ling. Moreover, his eyes flashed with a decisive light. Over the years, he must have faced a lot of storms. Lin Ling had once told him that true martial artists grew up in the midst of wind and rain. Greenhouse flowers looked beautiful, but they couldn't withstand the ravages of wind and rain. Therefore, although his father's name shook heaven and earth, he did not rely on the halo to grow. He concealed his identity, traveled north and south, and defeated countless experts. Wherever his father had gone before, he had always followed him. At this moment, Ancestor Extreme Flame looked at the young lady behind Lin Yi and couldn't help but ask curiously. Her name is Huang Ying, a girl I met during my training. Speaking of the girl behind him, Lin Yi was obviously a little shy. As for the young girl behind her, she was wearing a yellow robe. Her 2 small hands were clasped together and she looked extremely shy. However, she was slender and elegant, youthful and lively. She gave off a very good impression. Come and meet everyone. Lin Yi added. Patriarch Extreme Flame and the others were stunned. They gradually understood what this meant. Yi had grown up and found his other half. "Greetings, seniors." Huang Ying immediately walked out. Although she was shy, she still bowed to everyone gracefully. Patriarch Extreme Flame and the others couldn't help but laugh. "Huh, is this brother Lin Ling's daughter-in-law? Not bad at all. Why don't you work harder and let my brother Lin Ling be a grandfather soon?" A heroic voice rang out. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile awkwardly and grumble, "Uncle Zhantian, how can it be so early?" The person who spoke was Gu Zhantian, the former master of Lin Ling's ancient flame devil. Now, he was also living in the rainforest sacred ground. In this world, the rainforest sacred ground's atmosphere was the best. No expert dared to cause trouble here because this place belonged to the strongest person in this world, Lin Ling. Hearing the laughter around, the girl called Huang Ying's face turned redder. However, Mo Nianchen, Yu Mun Yun, Qin Xiaolan and the others immediately went forward and held the girl's hand. After a few words, the girl was no longer as shy as before. "Hee, it's quite lively here. This is your hometown, the rainforest sacred ground." Just as everyone was rejoicing, an untimely voice suddenly interrupted them. Then, immortal clouds floated in the sky, and pure white cranes appeared. The 5 white cranes pulled a palace and arrived in a grandiose manner. At this moment, the sky seemed to be filled with heavenly music, giving people a feeling of prosperity. Countless warriors in the rainforest sacred ground became solemn. "It's him." Lin Yi and Huang Ying's expression changed drastically when they saw who it was. It wasn't the first time they saw the master of the white cranes. A long time ago, in the demon region, they had come into contact with him. They never expected that the master of the white cranes would follow them here. At this moment, the white cranes in the sky descended from the sky and landed on the ground. Each of them was 5 meters tall. Their white wings were folded, and they had a touch of pride as they looked down at the people on the ground. The palace was opened, and several childlike youths supported an old man as they slowly walked out. The old man was wearing a crane robe. He had white hair and a youthful face. He looked extremely young, but his strength was as elegant as an immortal. He gave people a feeling that he couldn't be underestimated. "May I know who you are?" Sensing that the other party's background wasn't small, old ancestor Tai Yan immediately took a step forward and bowed. His current strength had greatly increased, so he could sense that the old man was extraordinary. Ants like you don't have the qualifications to speak to my sect master. We are from the afterlife realm of the North Territory. We are from the White Crane Immortal Sect. We passed by here, so we came to take a look." Before the old man could speak, the youths beside him spoke arrogantly. Their words were mixed with arrogance. "North Territory? Are they not from this world?" Lord Shui Wu, Lord Pu, and the others' expressions changed drastically. If they could come from other realms, it meant that these people had boundary seeds. Their strength must have reached the terrifying World King realm. Their world had always been peaceful. Even when there was unrest, it was mostly internal strife. The last time a powerhouse from the outside world had arrived, it had been brought here by the Sun God race. And this time, their world had once again welcomed a powerhouse from the outside world. "May I ask why Senior has come here?" Old ancestor Tai Yan knew that a World King powerhouse was an invincible existence in this world, so he didn't dare to be negligent. "There is no need to be so nervous. We powerhouses have no interest in the lives of ants," one of the young men said faintly. His words made everyone feel relieved. "We came here because Honorable Master has taken a liking to this junior called Lin Yi and wants to recruit him as a disciple," another youth said. This was their goal in coming here. Moreover, they had followed Lin Yi in secret for a long time. They knew that Lin Yi's talent was extraordinary, so they wanted to recruit him as a disciple. Recruit him as a disciple? Hearing this, old ancestor Taiyan and the others were stunned. This was the other party's goal? If Lin Ling were to know of this, who knew what Lin Ling would think? Seniors, I have already said that I have no intention of taking you as my master, so I must apologize. Chapter 25-34. Returning home in glory. Lin Yi, if you miss this opportunity then you won't have another one. Immortal White Crane is a 5th-level world king existence, someone you will forever need to look up to. If you miss this opportunity then you will be stuck here for the rest of your life. A young man sneered and said indifferently. Lin Yi didn't know what the World King realm was, thus he had refused. Otherwise, he would have already knelt down to acknowledge this person as his master. As for the World King realm, their White Crane Immortal sect had already traversed through this world and hadn't seen a single World King powerhouse. To this world, a World King powerhouse was undoubtedly a noble and sacred existence. 5th-level World King realm. Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others' complexions changed. Although Lin Ling and Yu Yu had gone to Martial God World, they still didn't know what their current strength was. As for a 5th-level World King, they were definitely fiercer than an ordinary World King. Our White Crane Immortal sect has opened a market in Martial God World's first ring city. A place like Martial God World isn't something that country bumpkins like you can understand. The youth spoke again. The old man behind him narrowed his eyes. Although he didn't speak, his expression was one of arrogance. Martial God World. Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. Our White Crane Immortal sect has a deep background and we know many people in Martial God World. Moreover, that powerhouse is also in the northern lands, searching for some heavenly treasures to refine into pills. In our market, there are often third and last generation disciples of the 3 great academies that come to buy treasures. Those are true martial god geniuses. The youth said. The truth was that he wanted Lin Yi to know just how noble White Crane Immortal sect was. At this time, the entire rainforest Holy Land was silent. How about it? Do you still want to acknowledge a master? Finally, the youth held his hands behind his back, quietly waiting for Lin Yi to kneel down and acknowledge him as his master. I'm sorry, but I don't plan on acknowledging a master because my father will teach me martial arts. Just as White Crane Immortal sect thought that Lin Yi would agree, he stubbornly shook his head. What? The several people from White Crane Immortal sect arched their eyebrows. Even the unfathomable old man's eyes widened. At first, Lin Yi refused because he didn't know how powerful they were. But now that they had said it, Lin Yi still refused. This made them feel very uncomfortable. This group of lowly ants simply couldn't see through themselves. Are you sure? The old man finally spoke. I, the White Crane Immortal, have dominated the 4 realms. You are the first to refuse me. Do you know what this means? I'm sure. However, Lin Yi's answer was quick and straightforward. Who is your father? Call him out. I want to see how he teaches his son. The old man coldly snorted. He never would have thought that taking the initiative to recruit a disciple would result in such treatment. He said indifferently, let me tell you, if your father was here, he would want nothing more than to take me as his master. Just as he finished speaking, an indifferent laugh suddenly came from afar. It is my fortune that this senior thinks so highly of me. However, everyone has their own ambitions and cannot be forced. The voice came out of nowhere and attracted everyone's attention. They saw a young man in a blue and white robe walking over with a smile. He held a wine pot in one hand and had the other hand behind his back. He was indescribably free and easy. His appearance was a little lazy, but he was very handsome, making it hard for people to forget him at first glance. Lin Ling. Looking at the young man, everyone in the rainforest's holy land was shocked. Ling, Ancestor Tai Yen and the others were stunned for a moment and their eyes immediately moistened. Lin Ling was back. Although they knew that Lin Ling would definitely return, they were still extremely excited to see him with their own eyes. My lord! Lord Xuewu and the others also shouted in surprise. Moreover, as the sound spread, the entire rainforest's holy land was in an uproar. Countless warriors walked out crazily and looked at Lin Ling excitedly. In this world, Lin Ling's name could be said to be known by every family. That is Lord Lin Ling. This is the first time I've seen him. He looks so powerful. I'm so excited. I've been in the rainforest's holy land for so many years. I didn't expect that I would have the fortune to see Lord Lin Ling. This is the #1 martial artist in the world. The warriors that were running from afar were all extremely excited. Although many people had never seen Lin Ling, the title of the #1 emperor of the mortal world, the #1 genius, had already entered the textbooks of martial artists. He came from the Heaven Mystics Kingdom and the Ancient Face sect. He fought for his self-esteem and for his family's glory. In a short period of time, he ruled the Heaven Mystics Kingdom and then came to the rainforest's holy land. He rose in the 7 profound martial house, defeated countless prodigies, and became the #1 genius. When the enemy invaded, it was this #1 genius of all ages who resisted the enemy and protected his home. This mythical story had already spread to every corner. Lin Ling. In a short period of time, the world was filled with shouts of worship. The #1 king of the world, Lin Ling, lived up to his name. Lin Ling drank his wine and looked ahead with a smile. When he saw familiar faces and heard excited voices, he felt an inexplicable excitement in his heart. The years of his childhood also floated in his mind. Looking back, he realized that he had unknowingly walked so many roads and braved so many storms. Today, he had returned, and the people of his hometown were warmly welcoming him. This feeling was like returning to his hometown in glory. Everyone, long time no see. Lin Ling took another sip of wine and then waved his hand. This kid. Looking at the young man who had already become a father, Ancestor Extreme Flame's eyes were moist as he scolded with a smile. No matter what kind of emperor Lin Ling was, in his eyes, he was still his lovable and talented grandson. Father. Lin Yi also looked at Lin Ling excitedly. Then, he strode over to Lin Ling and looked at Lin Ling with admiration. Although he had grown up now, in his heart, his father would always be so powerful and magnificent. Not bad, your strength has increased, and you've grown taller. Lin Ling looked at Lin Yi in a doting manner. He could not help but laugh. He was not a good father. He had been fighting outside all year round. His son's education was not just a little bit lacking. Fortunately, Lin Yi was also very capable and did not disappoint Lin Ling. Lin Yi nodded heavily. Who are you? However, at this moment, a dissatisfied voice suddenly sounded, interrupting Lin Ling's family reunion. The person who spoke was immortal by Crane. He was a little surprised. First, the young man had suddenly arrived and he had not noticed. Second, his immortal by Crane sect had arrived, and the warriors of this world had reacted indifferently. However, when the young man came, the whole world celebrated. This made him very unhappy. What right did the young man have? Although he could see that the young man was the strongest person in this world, it was obvious that his strength was not enough to enter his eyes. I am Lin Ling. Lin Ling also raised his head and looked at the old man. Father, he wants to take me as a disciple, but I don't want to join their sect. Chapter 25-35. Accepting Lin Ling as a disciple. So you are his father. Good, then have your son enter my sect. Of course, you can also raise conditions. For instance, you can also enter my sect. If I test you and your talent is good, then I can reluctantly agree. The old man regained his indifferent expression. Lin Yi didn't know any better, so having his father agree on his behalf wasn't bad at all. Hearing this, Lin Ling was stunned. He said with disbelief, "You want to accept me as a disciple?" This old man's strength was only at the 5th level of the World King realm. Moreover, his talent hadn't even awakened his divine body. He was clearly an ordinary World King realm martial artist. As for the several youths beside him, although they had also reached the World King realm, they weren't even geniuses of 10,000 worlds. They wanted to accept him as a disciple? Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh. However, seeing Lin Ling's smile, the several youths thought that he was happy. They immediately said with disdain, "Don't be happy too early. To enter White Crane Immortal Sect, you must pass a test. You might not be able to succeed. Of course, you don't need to feel inferior. Although your talent is inferior, if your perseverance is good, then you still have hope. Let me tell you something else. Our White Crane Immortal Sect once gave birth to a monstrous genius. He was a genius of 10,000 worlds, and he participated in the examination of the 3 great academies." Another youth proudly said. The old man nodded in satisfaction. This was because that genius of 10,000 worlds was his disciple and also the most glorious of all his disciples. Then, did he enter the 3 great academies? Lin Ling was stunned once more. He subconsciously asked. "Nonsense, do you think it's so easy to enter the 3 great academies? You probably don't even know what the 3 great academies are. Let me tell you. If 10,000 worlds wish to enter the 3 great academies, only 3 out of 100 will be able to pass. Even so, having the qualifications to participate in the examination is a form of affirmation." The old man disdainfully smiled. The 3 great academies? Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others could faintly hear that these 3 great academies couldn't be underestimated. And their appearance undoubtedly caused the old man to proudly smile. He was already waiting for Lin Ling to kneel down and acknowledge him as his master. Moreover, he was waiting for Lin Ling to look at him with worship. "Father, are the 3 great academies very powerful?" Even Lin Yi looked at Lin Ling solemnly. What he didn't know was that his father was already the 2nd generation of the 3 great academies, and was even the first of the 2nd generation. I was wondering who it was, but it turned out to be an eliminated genius. Lin Ling was speechless. He really didn't know what to say. Then, he joked, "If that's the case, then test me now and see if I'm qualified to enter your sect." So urgent? The people from White Crane Immortal Sect were stunned. They were even more certain that Lin Ling was impatient to become a disciple. "Alright, then I'll give you a chance. Be careful, I'm going to use the White Crane Martial Wind to test you. If you can't withstand it, then just shout out loud." One of the young men walked out and looked at the old man. The old man nodded indifferently. "Don't hurt him. Just test him a little. After all, I'm more interested in his son." With his cultivation, he simply couldn't see through Lin Ling's strength. In addition, Lin Ling came from this world, so he thought that Lin Ling was only so. The White Crane Martial Wind strength comes from a world origin seed. This is the strength of the universe's chaos. It is even fiercer than the laws and can destroy all laws. After the young man walked out, he had the elegant demeanor of a great master. He even swept his eyes over the crowd, wanting to see the awe in their eyes. In fact, Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others revealed dignified expressions. This was because they truly didn't understand the strength of a world king. The young man smiled in satisfaction. His arms danced like a white crane, carrying with them the rhythm of a divine crane. It had to be said that with his strength, if placed in the northern lands, he couldn't be underestimated. But in the martial god world, his strength was clearly weak. What left Lin Ling speechless was that this fellow testing him was fine, but he wasn't even attacking. Instead, he was explaining the mysteries of his martial arts. Was he trying to guide him? Or was he trying to show off? The rhythm of the crane, the clouds, the drifting. Those who understand the universe have infinite power. Hearing these words, Lin Ling couldn't help but interrupt him. Senior, please hurry up. Huh, are all young people so impatient? The young man was a bit dissatisfied. He waved his right hand at Lin Ling. Walala. The power of a world origin spread out, causing this world to sway. Ling, be careful. Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others immediately broke out in a cold sweat for Lin Ling. Don't worry, my disciple knows what he's doing. He won't harm him. However, the old man was extremely confident. Of course, he'll suffer a bit. He'll probably be blown to the ground by the astral winds. The old man had already begun to consider how he would reprimand Lin Ling after Lin Ling failed. After all, if this sort of arrogant junior wasn't suppressed, then his sharp spirit wouldn't be restrained. Walala. The astral winds blew past. No one could stop them. The young man had already turned around and walked towards the old man. Master, his talent is obviously not as good as Lin Yi's. He can't become a disciple of our sect. His voice was filled with confidence. However, just as he finished speaking, a depressed voice came from the surging astral winds. It's over? Not only was the voice depressed, it was also mixed with disappointment. Even old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others could hear that tone clearly. Hearing that, the young man's eyes narrowed. He turned around and saw Lin Ling standing there unscathed. He was even drinking. Unscathed? How could he be unscathed? Not to mention the young man, even the old man's eyes narrowed. This. The young man was dumbfounded. Senior, why don't you try again? Maybe your martial prowess wasn't stimulated, or maybe you came from afar and didn't eat breakfast, so you don't have enough strength. Lin Ling said with a serious face, which made the young man even more dumbfounded. Seeing this unbelievable scene, old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others were stunned. Although they didn't know what had happened, they couldn't help but laugh. Previously, the young man was so arrogant. He treated Lin Ling as if he was looking at an ordinary person. In the end, Lin Ling was safe and sound. How ironic. I'll try again. Hearing the ridicule around him, the young man's face turned red and he walked out again. Walala. This time, he obviously used all his strength. But the result was still the same. This made him stand there in a daze. Lin Yi looked at his father in shock. His father was so powerful? He couldn't help but smile. Previously, the young man arrogantly wanted to test his father and then take him as his disciple. Now, the young man seemed to have slapped his own face. The young man used all his strength, but it was useless against his father. How is this possible? How is this possible? The young man kept shaking his head. It was very embarrassing. Young man, you're quite capable. Ling Yuan, come back. I'll test him. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.